If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description.
Chapter 51, Inside Kimono Hatch Forest, Battle. In Kimono Hatch Forest. Dratini, stay away. Use Twister. Floyd commanded. Suddenly, a gust of wind came towards them. Floyd and Axu were only slightly affected, while Horsa, the 5 Gumis, and Munchlax took a step back. Ehu! Dratini dodged the attack but was still somewhat affected. He then used his tail to launch Twister at Pidgey. Wish! Tweet! Pidgey managed to dodge it, quickly retaliating with Sand Attack. Ehu! Lightning surged through Dratini's body and directed it at Pidgey. Sand Attack and Thunder Wave clashed. For a few moments, Floyd and the others couldn't see anything because of the sand. Shortly after, Dratini opened his eyes to see a paralyzed Pidgey in front of him. Dratini, now! Use extreme speed! Floyd shouted, seizing the opportunity. Ehu! Dratini moved swiftly, appearing in front of Pidgey almost instantly. Tweet! Pidgey cried out, attempting to fly away but can't. Finish with Twister. Floyd urged. Ehu! A small Twister ensnared the disoriented Pidgey. Ehu! Dratini proudly gazed at the sky. Good job, Dratini! Floyd praised, noting a 10-point notification. Gumi! Go, Gumi! 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 Goo! Munch! Munchlax! Horsa! Axu! Various Pokémon cheered in response, lending their support to Dratini. Feeling encouraged, Dratini wanted to show his pleasure but refrained for the sake of his dignity. Instead, he snorted proudly, "Ehw! All right, simmer down. You're still developing. Just look at your tail, it's almost pointing up," Floyd teased. Ew! Dratini's elation dampened, realizing he still had a way to go. Floyd observed the wild Pidgey, wondering if he should capture it. But knowing it was a wild Pokémon, he recognized the potential danger. Instead, he offered it some poke blocks and moved it to a safer location. Come on, let's proceed, Floyd declared, leading the group further into their journey. Rattata from Chapter 4, Why didn't I receive such treatment? Crying face, Horsa, use water gun. Floyd ordered. Horsa unleashed water gun, striking Bellsprout. Seizing the moment, Floyd directed, Horsa, use smokescreen. Horsa exhaled a cloud of dark ink. Suddenly, Bellsprout's Vine Whip caught Horsa off guard, causing her to recoil. Another Vine Whip lashed out, hitting her again. But the pain overwhelmed Horsa, preventing her from responding. Soon after, Bellsprout's vines ensnared her. In a desperate attempt, Floyd offered, Horsa, if you listen, I'll reward you with 2 poke blocks. Use Dragon Dance. Upon hearing the promise of poke blocks, Horsa's spirits lifted. She performed Dragon Dance, breaking free from Bellsprout's grasp. However, Bellsprout was persistent and launched another Vine Whip. Horsa, evade it. Use water gun. Floyd called out, lamenting Horsa's lack of physical moves. Horsa barely dodged, retaliating with another water gun. Despite being hit, Bellsprout remained resilient and attacked again. This time, Horsa wasn't quick enough to avoid it. She released one final water gun before collapsing. The injured Bellsprout also faltered and passed out. As Floyd approached Horsa with the intention to retrieve her, an enraged Mother Weepinbell appeared. She lashed out with Vine Whip, forcing Floyd to retreat, cradling Horsa protectively. The Weepinbell then used Growth, increasing its size. Axu, first impression! Floyd shouted as he rushed back. Axu! Axu responded and attacked Weepinbell. Weepinbell screamed and took a step back, preparing to unleash her Vine Whip. Axu, use Dig! Floyd instructed, eyeing the advancing Weepinbell warily. Axio promptly dug a hole in the ground. Without hesitation, Weepinbell spread a cloud of poison powder. "Everyone, back off!" Floyd warned, leading the retreat. The group hastily followed his lead. Anticipating this, Floyd held a mouthful of antidote powder made from pecha berry, ready to counteract the poison. "Axio, emerge now!" Floyd commanded. Caught off guard, Weepinbell screeched and used wrap on Axio, binding him tightly. "Axio, power through with Dragon Dance!" Floyd encouraged. Axio tried to break free using Dragon Dance, but Weepinbell's strength proved overwhelming. Seeing Axio's plight, Floyd charged at Weepinbell using his dragon power. Weepinbell, underestimating human strength, was caught by surprise. With a powerful impact, Weepinbell released Axio from her grip, screaming in pain. "Now, Dragon Claw!" Floyd directed. As Weepinbell cast sleep powder, she was simultaneously struck by Axio's Dragon Claw. Feeling the drowsy effects of the powder, Axio began to falter. Floyd channeled his dragon power into Axio, exclaiming, "Axio, snap out of it!" Revitalized by Floyd's energy and call, Axio regained his vigor. With her last reserve of strength, Weepinbell launched a vine whip. "Counter with breaking swipe!" Floyd instructed. Axio. Axio parried the attack successfully. "Finish with slash!" Floyd commanded. Axio lunged, and with a powerful slash, Weepinbell crumbled. Exhausted, both Floyd and Axio tried to catch their breath. Floyd then noticed a game panel indicating a 50-point gain, an unprecedented score. Pondering about this unusual score, he wondered aloud, could it be level 36 plus or even level 40 plus ace level? But he found no answer. He eyed the defeated Weepinbell warily, not daring to approach. Picking up the unconscious Horsa, he gently patted her head and infused her with his dragon power, murmuring, "I'm sorry." Self-blame consumed him. Realizing he had allowed Horsa to battle without the necessary physical move and overlooked Axio's disadvantage against Weepinbell's growth-powered wrap weighed heavily on his mind. Turning to Axio, he asked, "Can you still move?" Axio responded with a nod, signaling he was okay despite some injuries. Dratini observed with newfound respect. The formidable prowess of both Axio and Floyd erased his earlier arrogance. A burning determination to train harder ignited within him. As they retraced their steps, Dratini took on adversaries while Gumis and Munchlax watched from the sidelines. The leader Gumi yearned to participate, but Floyd didn't let them for now, although a bit disappointed he understood Floyd's doing this for their own good. For now, their foundation was more important. Floyd just wanted them to see a battle, stoking the flames of determination in their hearts, preparing them for battles yet to come later. Chapter 52, Return. As Floyd and his Pokémon returned to the safe zone outside the lair of Kimono Hatch Forest, which is situated on the external layer where the base is, he happened to meet Bianca and her Pokémon dining. Her hair was disheveled, and she seemed arguing with Swablu. "Swablu, why have you become so picky? Eat your meal now," Bianca grumbled, attempting to untangle the Pokémon from her hair. "Tweet, tweet." Swablu persisted, appearing to want to communicate something. However, unable to comprehend, Bianca remarked, "You weren't like this before." "Tweet, tweet," Swablu gestured with her left wing towards her food and then shook her head. Bianca, sampling the food, found nothing amiss and said, "There's nothing wrong with it. Why won't you eat?" "Tweet, tweet," Swablu continued to shake her head. Overwhelmed, Bianca muttered, "Swablu," struggling to free her hair from the Pokémon. From behind, a voice teased, "Oh, Bianca, surprisingly, you can speak normally." Startled, Bianca turned and blushed, "Floyd." "Good morning," Floyd greeted. Stammering, Bianca replied, "GG good morning." Floyd sighed, thinking she was back to where she was having a social phobia. Tweet. Brother Floyd, good morning. Floyd, with a smile, said, good morning, Swablu. What are you arguing here? And then directed his question to Bianca. Embarrassed, Bianca responded, it's Swablu. Tweet, Brother Floyd, I want to eat your food, Swablu conveyed with pleading eyes. Curious, Floyd observed Puchayana, Talo, and Chico Rita dining. He then noticed the untouched food meant for Swablu and handed it over, saying, you seemed picky today. Here, have this. Bianca hesitated, but Swablu eagerly accepted. He reassured, it's all right. It's my job to feed all the breasts here. Addressing the other Pokémon who looked enviously, he added, come, I have more for you. The 3 Pokémon eagerly approached, their eyes shining. They hesitated a moment and then dived into the food. Pleased, Floyd noted that this particular food, which was even lower quality than novice-grade Poke Block, but it's more abundant. Wrapping up, Floyd mentioned, Bianca, I'm heading out. If they need more food, come to me. He intended to visit Chansey since his Pokémon were injured and hesitated to use the expensive healing powder, especially with a free healer available. Continuing on, Floyd encountered Chen Yu and others, who greeted him, youngest, good morning. A bit frustrated by the new nickname given by Le Mylin the previous night, Floyd courteously responded. He felt a tad bitter, thinking, Ryota should be the one called youngest. He then told Chen Yu, Captain, I need to inquire about the berries. I'm preparing beast's food. Chen Yu replied, you're in luck. We're heading there, and Le Mylin and her group should be present there as well. Floyd understood that Le Mylin, Yvonne, and others were already on an external task, though it wasn't dangerous compared to where he went. Where's Kong Jihun Vice Captain? Floyd asked, scanning the area but not seeing him. He's in the Beast's Sanctuary with the other group. He's busy arranging their locations in there, and later we will also meet up with the Caterpillar Beasts with Professor Kenriku, Chen Yu answered. Perfect timing. I'm also heading there. You can hand over the berries to me when we're there, Floyd said. I see, but be cautious. Always be alert, they might inadvertently hurt you, Chen Yu warned, raising his hand in a farewell gesture as he and his group left. Floyd exhaled a sigh. He knew people were still cautious around beasts. Continuing on their journey, Floyd and his Pokémon soon reached the Beast's Sanctuary. There, he saw Chansey, and again, Growlithe, with an added Happiny trailing behind. The previously timid Chansey now exuded confidence and had become quite popular among the Pokémon. Floyd quickly approached her. Observing Floyd's arrival, some Pokémon grew tense, while others relaxed, recognizing him. Most had a favorable impression of him compared to other humans. Good morning, everyone. Chansey, good morning, he greeted. Chansey responded with a nod and a smile. Happy New York Happiny greeted enthusiastically, remembering that Floyd was the reason she was here. Good morning, little one, Floyd greeted Happiny before turning his attention to the slightly nervous Growlithe, and you too, good morning. Growlithe was not scared anymore and nodded, but still stepped back cautiously. Chansey, I need your assistance. Horsa is injured, Floyd got straight to the point. Upon seeing the unconscious Horsa in Floyd's arms, Chansey hurriedly approached, took the Pokémon, and activated her healing abilities. While Happiny observed with confusion, Chansey worked swiftly. In a matter of minutes, Horsa stirred awake. Horsa seemed puzzled by her surroundings. After Chansey briefed her on the situation, Horsa noticed Floyd and looked somewhat dejected, presumably recalling her earlier battle. Floyd quickly approached her and gently patted her head. I'm sorry, Horsa. This was really my fault. Seeing Floyd's familiar comforting demeanor, Horsa's eyes lit up. I should have first let you practice melee attacks first, and not let you face a Pokémon that resists your type. It's my fault. In our next training, we'll add melee combat. But you, to be honest, did your best. You even managed to defeat a Pokémon that had the type advantage over you. Horse's expression turned somber as she hurriedly moved closer to Floyd, communicating, Horsa, Horsa. Look at me, I'm in such a pitiful state, so hurt. Can I be excused from training? After you recover, we'll resume our training. And don't worry, I'll increase your food portion, Floyd reassured. Chansey, I also need your help. Axew and Dratini also require assistance, Floyd said, a touch of embarrassment in his tone. Chansey. Chansey directed her gaze towards Axew and Dratini, studying them intently. A few moments passed. Chansey, Chansey, Chansey. Chansey reprimanded Floyd, her mouth puckering in a clear show of disapproval. We've been fighting inside the forest against wild beasts. It's just our routine, although there have been a few accidents this time, Floyd responded, his cheeks reddening under Chansey's stern gaze. The shift in her demeanor was stark, the once timid Chansey now resembled a scolding mother. Chansey. After her initial rebuke, Chansey carefully inspected Axew and Dratini, searching for any signs of black injury but found none. Rest assured, I always administer healing powder to them, ensure they receive proper nutrition, and even give them massages, Floyd quickly explained, hoping to allay her concerns. Chansey sighed in relief upon hearing his assurances, and started healing each of them, but her expression remained stern, still somewhat upset with Floyd. 2 hours later, Kang Chihun's group made their appearance, arms laden with an assortment of berries. Chapter 53, Laborious Work, Afternoon. You're brave, coming here alone, Kang Chihun remarked as they placed the berries in front of Floyd. It's not that dangerous, Floyd responded, thinking, if they only knew he already ventured into some parts of the Kimonohatch forest alone, they might not say that. Chen Yu told me you were here. Are you starting now? Kang Chihun inquired. Yes, time is money, so I should get going, Floyd answered as he organized his supplies. Do you need any help? Kang Chihun offered. Well, if the berries aren't sorted yet, maybe you can assist with that, Floyd pondered aloud. You don't need to worry about that, they're already sorted by type, Kang Chihun assured him. Then I should be fine on my own, Floyd decided. You're feeding hundreds of creatures here. Be cautious or you could get hurt, Kang Chihun warned, glancing at the nearby Pokémon. I'm not overly concerned. I'm not some weakling, my beasts are strong, Floyd said confidently. Kang Chihun, reminded of Floyd's numerous Pokémon, felt somewhat reassured. He handed over a whistle, advising, if you find yourself in trouble, blow this whistle. Even though Floyd felt it was unnecessary, he accepted the whistle with a nod of thanks. Afterward, Kang Chihun and his team departed. Once Kang Chihun and his team departed, Floyd took in the array of berries like kuo, nutpea, agwaf, durian, and more. While most were straightforward, they were suitable for poke block. He got to work. An hour later, a sizable stockpile of poke blocks was ready. Pokémon watched him, curious but patient. Everyone, gather and form a line, Floyd called out. A palpable excitement swept through the Pokémon as they voiced their eagerness, forming a line behind him. Floyd fleetingly wished he had Kang Chihun's assistance. Thankfully, 4 Blastoises and several Wartortles were present to help maintain order. Methodically, he began distributing food. This is your ration from now until tomorrow morning. Make it last, okay? He instructed the Growlithes, tying bags of food to each of their heads. Erver. 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 The 4 Growlithes responded in agreement. And remember, there's work tomorrow. No mischief. Comply, all right. Floyd emphasized. The Growlithes responded with a collective, Erver. They were not troubled by the prospect of labor. In fact, they felt an obligation to give back. Gratitude filled them as they remembered Kanraku's rescue. These Grolithe were not the timorous type but another batch that had also been rescued. To simply receive food without contributing would bring them shame, especially towards Kanraku, their rescuer. Floyd then moved on to a group of Guadud, repeating his earlier instructions and handing out their food. They nodded, understanding the arrangement. A flurry of Butterfree approached him next. Quickly, Floyd distributed generous amounts of poke block to them, ensuring they got their fill. 3 laborious hours later, Floyd wrapped up. As a token of gratitude, the assisting Blastoises received extra food. Floyd packed up the remaining poke blocks and berries. Hard work, wasn't it? A voice commented and someone patted his shoulder. Turning, Floyd saw Kanraku with Suzuki Akiko, Yamada, Nakamura, Inu, Aizawa, Ryota, Chen Yu, Kong Jihun, and the others. When did you all arrive? Floyd asked, caught off guard. About 10 minutes ago. We saw you hard at work and opted not to interrupt, Kanraku shared, a nostalgic glint in his eye as he thought of his own times feeding Pokémon. You should have come over instead of just watching, Floyd responded. It feels warm watching you, it reminds me of the professor, Suzuki Akiko said with a smile. Sister Suzuki, good afternoon. It's great to see you're back. I'm still far behind the professor. By the way, why are you all here? Floyd inquired. Didn't I told you before, we're planning to meet up here with the professor. We're going to help relocate some beasts to their habitats and explain their tasks for tomorrow. We need the professor's help this time, Chen Yu explained. I see. I'll make sure not to disturb you then, Floyd said as he began repacking his belongings. You aren't coming with us? Kong Jihun wondered. My beasts are still in training. I need to check that for now, Floyd responded with a hint of bashfulness. No wonder your beasts are growing so rapidly, their trainer is quite responsible, Kanraku commented approvingly. Trainer? What's that? Suzuki Akiko questioned. It's a new term Floyd introduced. I'll explain it later. For now, we should get going, Kanraku said as they began to depart. The other members, including Nakamura, Inu, Ryota, Chen Xin, Xiao Yun, Go Jisung, Hu Xianthao, and more, waved goodbye. Floyd reciprocated with a friendly wave before hurrying to his Pokémon. Upon arrival, Floyd noticed horses sparring with a female Wartortle. He quickly approached the 2 observing Squirtles and inquired, what's the score? Squirtle. 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 The 2 Squirtles presented a scoreboard, 4-3. Impressed, Floyd remarked, this is surprising. Horsa managed 3 points this time. He had organized these challenges specifically to hone Horsa's abilities in dodging, marksmanship, and counterattacking during close combat. He believed that pressuring Horsa with the threat of reducing food punishment upon a loss would be an effective motivation for her. Today's score was evidence of her improvement. Minutes later, Wartortle landed a rapid spin on Horsa, concluding the match 5-3. Pleased, Floyd applauded in appreciation. Great effort today. Here are your rewards, Floyd said, handing portions of food to the Wartortle and the Squirtles. The trio expressed their joy before departing. Floyd then addressed Horsa, you performed wonderfully today. As a bonus, you'll get extra food. Horsa's eyes gleamed before fatigue set in. Hey, we're about to eat. You don't want to miss that, do you? Floyd teased. Revived by the promise of food, Horsa nodded eagerly. After calling Axew, Dratini, the 5 Gumis, and Munchlax, they began their meal. Floyd gave the Gumis a mix of Steel-type berries, purposely avoiding Dragon-type berries. He suspected that the Dragon-type berries might be affecting the Gumis Hisuian type, as the evolved form, Gudra, was originally a pure Dragon type. Turning to Axew, Floyd inquired, any progress with learning the Protect move? Axio shook his head disappointedly. It's all right. You've just started. Give it time, Floyd reassured, he already expected it. Dratini, I have something to tell you, Floyd calls out. Ahu. Dratini looked at him and asked. Then, addressing Dratini, he revealed, I've figured out how to cure your mother. I'm just short on a few materials. Chapter 54, Silent Threads, Bianca's debut. Axio and the others, even the new ones who already knew about Dragonite Mother's existence, heaved a sigh of relief. Hearing his owner's words, Dratini became dumbfounded. Then, a hesitant expression formed on his face. Seeing this reaction, Floyd was taken aback. He had expected jubilation. Aren't you happy? He asked. Ehu, I'm happy, Dratini shook his head and then nodded. Then why do you look so sad? Floyd probed further. Dratini then explained his reasons. After listening for a few seconds, Floyd became dumbfounded. Bursting into laughter, he exclaimed, ha 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 ha. So, that's what you're worried about? Ha ha ha. Floyd chuckled, holding his stomach in amusement. Dratini's face turned a shade of red from embarrassment. In his irritation, he lashed out at Floyd with his tail. Okay, I understand. I promise, no more laughing. Floyd tried to keep a straight face, but a smile still tugged at the corners of his mouth. Dratini was concerned that, upon his mother's awakening, she'd see him still as a Dratini, not having evolved. He could already picture her disappointment and dismay upon seeing him. But he failed to grasp that he needed to evolve into Dragonair before becoming a Dragonite, a process not feasible in a few mere months. Floyd mused about Dragonite Mother's possible reaction, surmising that she might be overjoyed that her son remained in his adorable Dratini form. Floyd tried to comfort him, saying, I believe she might actually be happier to see you haven't evolved yet. This seemed to upset Dratini further, and he smacked Floyd with his tail once again. Ehu, why would my mother be happy if I'm weak? Trust me, every mother loves to see their child remain adorable and cute, Floyd reasoned. Yet another tail smack came Floyd's way. Ehu, I am not cute. Okay, I get it. You're not cute. You're a very handsome Dratini, Floyd said, a hint of playfulness in his voice. As Floyd was caught up in the moment, Dratini tried to slip away. Floyd swiftly intercepted him. The Pokémon wriggled, attempting to break free. Ehu, let me go. I'm leaving. To where? Floyd inquired. Ehu, to train. Finish your meal first, Floyd countered. Ehu, but I'm full. If you don't eat everything, there's no training, Floyd said, emphasizing the importance of a proper meal for growth. Seeing no way out, Dratini quickly finished his food. Horsa watched the entire exchange enviously, thinking, why would he want to train so badly? A few minutes later, Dratini, eager as ever, resumed his training, and Axio followed suit. Axio could feel the competitive pressure from his younger counterpart and didn't want to be left behind. They trained intensely. And 3 hours later, when it was time to eat again, Munchlax, the 5 Gummis, and Horsa had already fallen asleep after their massage session. However, Axio and Dratini, still brimming with energy, ate their meal and got right back to training. Seeing the two of them tirelessly training and then eating only to resume training again, Floyd could only sigh in resignation. The food stock he had estimated to last 2 weeks looked like it would only last 9 days at this rate. Previously, in Maharlika, they hadn't trained as intensely due to potential threats and limited resources. But now, in this safe environment with ample berries, they could train as hard as they wanted and eat multiple times a day. He glanced upwards, noting the encroaching darkness that signaled it was nearing 5 p.m., which meant they would have a meeting again. He then prepared portions of food for them and informed them he would be going to the meeting. Both of them nodded, so Floyd placed the 5 Gummis in his backpack, put Horsa on his head, and carried Munchlax. Even though Munchlax weighed over 80 kilos, Floyd managed. A few minutes later, he settled them in his room and immediately headed to the meeting room. In the meeting room, he was greeted by Le Mylin. He also saw Yvonne and Jonathan with sullen expressions. Floyd speculated that this guy might have had a tough time with Sister Lin. Shortly after, Bianca, Kenraku, Suzuki, Chen Yu, Kong Jihun, and others entered the room, and greetings were exchanged. This time each would report. The first to present were Chen Yu and Kong Jihun, who discussed the situation with food, berries, beasts, and the suitable work for each beast. Numerous questions and suggestions were raised, with many, including Kenraku, chiming in. After Chen Yu and Kong Jihun finished their report, Le Mylin and Yvonne discussed their scouting of the Kimona Hatch forests. Mostly, it was Yvonne presenting. Chen Yu proposed they should not take in any more beasts for the time being, and everyone agreed. Floyd suggested adopting beasts like Growlithe, known for their keen sense of smell, which would assist their investigation efforts. After explaining his reasoning, everyone agreed that it was a feasible idea. Then it was Bianca's turn. Nervously, she approached the front, holding finished garments, a nearly completed loom with silk threads, berries, and other materials. She felt the intense gazes of everyone present and hesitated. After a few awkward moments, she stopped speaking and lowered her head in embarrassment. Le Mylin, appearing puzzled, asked, "Do you have something to say?" Chen Yu added, "We'll just be wasting time if you don't speak." Understanding her discomfort, Floyd intervened, "Bianca, you can demonstrate your method if you don't want to speak." Kong Jihun, curious, asked, "What do you mean?" "She has social phobia," Floyd clarified. The attendees nodded in understanding. Bianca mustered the courage to meet Floyd's gaze and gave him a grateful nod. She felt a surge of hesitation but began her demonstration regardless. As she commenced, an aura of unexpected allure enveloped the room, and all eyes turned to her in astonishment. With a captivating elegance that seemed almost ethereal, she stood at the center, seamlessly melding the vivid hues of berries with the glistening silk threads, and began winding them onto bobbins. With skillful grace, she transitioned to her weaving loom, threading the shuttles through the warp. Her fingers nimbly adjusted the tensioning devices, ensuring the threads had the perfect tension. "It's beautiful," Floyd exclaimed in surprise. And it wasn't just him, the sentiment was echoed silently by many men in the room. Half an hour later, a piece of wet fabric was presented to their eyes. And, this was not realistic at all, it takes a long time to make fabric lol. This is just a sample fabric. Here is the finished product, Bianca stuttered, showing them the fully finished pastel green fabric and tying it from her arm. "And the effect is this." Without further explanation, she ignited a fire starter and directly set it in her hand ablaze. The room erupted in shock as everyone shouted, "What are you doing?" Chapter 55, The Gathering of Minds, Evening Discussions. "It hurts," Bianca felt agony as the flames engulfed her hand, blood dripping steadily from the open, burned wound. "What are you doing?" Floyd rushed towards her, quickly taking the fire starter from her hands and offering her a healing powder. "Here, take it." But Bianca refused, stubbornly enduring the pain from her burns. "Bianca, are you an idiot? Why the hell did you do that?" Jonathan chided her sharply. "You should use the powder immediately, otherwise, that burn will scar you permanently," Kenraku advised. Ignoring their advice, Bianca pressed the fabric to her burnt wound and waited. Moments later, to everyone's astonishment, the wound began healing. Although the effect was slower compared to the healing powder and berries, it was still surprising. "So, this is what you intended to demonstrate?" Floyd observed, marveling at her recovering hand. While the fabric's healing properties weren't as fast-acting as the healing powder or berries, it was still an impressive feat for a simple piece of cloth. "Bianca-san, does this fabric have this healing effect permanently?" Kanraku asked, anticipation evident in his voice. "Yes," Bianca responded, her voice quivering from enduring the residual pain. Upon hearing her confirmation, everyone in the room understood the true value of this fabric, realizing it could be a game-changer in terms of survival. "It seems we've overlooked this. You mentioned earlier that you could produce a fabric that resists or even delays poison. Is that true?" Kanraku, with renewed interest, probed further. "Why yes, Professor, but it depends on the quality of the materials," Bianca explained timidly. The room buzzed with questions, each aimed at Bianca. Though she stuttered through her answers, it was still a great improvement for her considering she has a social phobia. After addressing their queries, she retreated to her seat, feeling the weight of everyone's attention. She lowered her gaze, trying to escape the scrutiny. After answering their questions, she returned to her seat, feeling their gazes on her, making her even more nervous. She responded by lowering her head. "Bianca, you've truly astounded us," Floyd admired. She blushed, mumbling, "It's nothing, compared to yours. You've kept silent, but you can actually produce something like this," Jonathan noted, adding to the praise, causing her cheeks to redden even more, and she lowered her head. Subsequently, the discussion began. Kanraku suggested allocating a portion of the berry harvest to Bianca. Chen Yu recommended that Bianca train others, particularly the women, in her fabric-making techniques. Le Mylin prioritized equipping the scouts with the fabric due to their frequent forays into the Kimono Hatch forest. After the suggestion for a few minutes, it was Floyd's turn to present. He shared foundational knowledge about poke blocks, detailed the 5 flavors, and elaborated on his hypothesis regarding berries possessing specific types. He showcased samples of berries and explained the berry blender's functionality, demonstrating how to fine-tune its 4 buttons for making poke block and how to produce berry juice. Finally, he illustrated the process of converting berries into powder. The audience was eager to learn more. Kong Chihun queried about obtaining a berry blender, to which Floyd clarified that he was currently the sole owner. Upon Kanraku's request if he could inspect the berry blender to possibility of replicating it, Floyd agreed, emphasizing that the device wasn't too complicated for someone familiar with its functions and process. Le Mylin expressed her desire to obtain various types of this powder in case of accidents on their tasks. Following Floyd's presentation, it was Kanraku's turn. Kanraku showcased the results of research he had conducted with the assistance of his 4 disciples. He explained the types he had already confirmed, those he was uncertain about, and potential additions. He also raised the possibility, hinted at by Floyd before, which was the beasts might possess dual-type attributes. Moreover, Kanraku listed the names of the beasts he had researched. Upon hearing these, Floyd suggested it might be better to name the beasts based on the sounds they made. Floyd further speculated on the potential existence of a bug type, citing families of creatures like Butterfree, Ladybug, and Spinarak as examples. Kanraku paused thoughtfully upon hearing this, then nodded, indicating he would consider this angle in his studies. Furthermore, Floyd suggested the concept of type opposition, for instance, water opposing fire, fire opposing plant, grass, and plant opposing water. Kanraku, taken aback, inquired about the basis for these relationships, asking if each opposing type also depending on how some environments can be opposed to nature. Most of the gathered individuals simply listened, as only Floyd seemed to grasp the depth of Kanraku's insights. Even Kanraku's disciples appeared somewhat perplexed. However, the broader audience found their understanding of the beasts deepening with the unfolding discussion, fueling their enthusiasm. As the conversation progressed, it became more of a one-on-one exchange between Kanraku and Floyd, with Floyd leading the initiative of creating topics. After several hours, the meeting concluded. Chen Yu, Kang Jihun, and their team excused themselves, citing preparations for managing the beast's tasks the following day. Le Mylin and the rest soon departed as well. Kanraku invited Floyd to discuss further research. Floyd agreed but asked for a brief delay to prepare dinner for his Pokémon. Understanding, Kanraku left with his disciples. Checking the wall clock, Floyd noted it was already 8:30 p.m. He quickly went to Axu and Dratini, who were still immersed in their training. Seeing their untouched food and their relentless dedication, Floyd sighed. He called them over and led them back to their room. Dratini, still eager to train, felt restrained by Floyd's guidance. The Pokémon silently vowed to train harder once he grew stronger. Upon returning to the room, Floyd found Jonathan asleep and Yvonne deep in thought. Yvonne noticed him entering the door. The two exchanged nods of acknowledgement. Floyd then went about his usual routine, waking the 5 Gumis, Horsa, and Munchlax for dinner. Afterward, he took the Dragonite mother to the bathroom for the usual routine, then took him again inside the Pokeball before bathing. 30 minutes later, Floyd entered Kanraku's laboratory. Chapter 56, DNA Color Clues, Deciphering the Spots and Shades. Upon entering the laboratory room, Floyd observed dozens of monitors, each displaying various Pokémon. In the room were Kanraku, Suzuki Akiko, and Kanraku's disciples, including Suzuki Ryota. Floyd guessed that surveillance cameras must be installed throughout the beast's sanctuary, capturing every movement. Shishao, the Gaijin is here, Ryota announced. You should address him as Floyduni-san, show some respect, Kanraku reprimanded, flicking Ryota's head with a finger. Ouch! Humph, Ryota reacted, pouting in a mix of pain and annoyance. Taking the opportunity to tease her nephew, Suzuki Akiko remarked, my nephew is still such a cutie, as she playfully pinched Ryota's chubby cheeks. Don't press, it will stretch, Ryota protested. Hee, I don't, Suzuki Akiko chuckled, continuing her playful pinching. Floyd, come over here, Kanraku beckoned. Yes, Floyd replied, nodding. He then retrieved the berry blender from his backpack and handed it to Kanraku, saying, Professor, here it is. I appreciate this, Kanraku remarked, inspecting the berry blender closely. He'd been curious about this device since their time on the ship. Offering a more detailed and nuanced explanation than the one given during their meeting, Floyd elaborated on the blender's capabilities, especially its potential to create poke blocks with specific types. As of now, I can combine 2 to 3 types of berries at once. The flavor combination shouldn't be too complex or strong, otherwise, the mixing will fail. Yet, I believe there's untapped potential, Floyd added, emphasizing the device's possible capabilities. I'll keep that in mind. Nakamura-san, Inu-san, Ryota, please scan this device and produce a blueprint, Kanraku directed. They acknowledged, taking the blender to begin their task. Professor, is it appropriate to involve a child in this task? Floyd inquired, referring to Ryota's participation. Kanraku smiled confidently, asserting, never underestimate that boy. He's exceptionally talented. Really? Floyd raised an eyebrow, impressed by his appraisal. Let's move on to my research findings, Kanraku suggested, leading Floyd to a computer and opening some files. Suzuki Akiko returned, bearing 2 cups of tea. Thank you, Suzuki sister, Floyd said gratefully, taking 1 cup and placing the other beside Kanraku. Many thanks, Suzuki-san, Kanraku echoed, also expressing gratitude. You both continue. I won't interrupt further, Suzuki Akiko said, nodding and departing. Floyd-san, take a look. This is the data I mentioned earlier, it comes from the DNA of the beasts. Kanraku directed Floyd's attention to a document about Pidgey, which displayed various energy colors. This represents the type of the beasts. Here, I'm confident it's the air type. But this second prominent color leaves me puzzled. Additionally, there are these minor energy color spots that I can't make sense of. Your dual type theory seems plausible, but these additional color spots remain a mystery, Kanraku explained. Floyd scrutinized the chart, mulling over potential explanations. He considered the phenomenon of mega evolution, where certain Pokémon might undergo type changes. Professor, could you provide more samples? One Pokémon isn't sufficient for a clear conclusion, Floyd suggested. Kanraku then displayed data from his partner, Blastoise. It showed one dominant energy type with a few light gray spots and two small silver spots. Back when Blastoise was a Wartortle, the spots would shift. Initially, there were no silver spots. As he matured, one appeared, and now there are two. It's perplexing, Kanraku admitted, clearly troubled by the inconsistency. May I see additional records? I'd like to further analyze the patterns, Floyd requested. Of course, here you go, Kanraku replied, displaying them one by one. Floyd was taken aback to see that all these Pokémon had a dominant color accompanied by several smaller spots. Initially, he considered the possibility of these colors hinting at their Mega Evolution type. However, he also noticed many Pokémon, ones that couldn't Mega Evolve, bearing similar small color spots. Suddenly, an idea struck Floyd. Professor, just one more time, I think I've confirmed something, he said urgently. Are you sure? Kanraku's eyes lit up with anticipation. He quickly agreed, all right, take another look. Floyd examined the records again. Now he was certain. The dominant light gray color was evident in Pokémon like Rattata, Moltank, and Meowth. Half of the color could be seen in Pokémon like Pidgey, while the smaller spots appeared on Blastoise, Wartortle, Squirtle, and many others. The dominant color, he guessed, must represent a normal type, while the smaller spots indicated different types. But the common thread was that they could all execute normal moves. He dug deeper into his observation, noting similarities in other types. The dominant color of Poochyena and a half color of Nuzleaf are suggested as a dark type. Small spots on Meowth, Rattata, and Growlithe were consistent with Pokémon able to execute a dark move like Bite. The same pattern emerged for ground and fighting moves. How is it, Floyd? Have you deciphered the pattern? Kanraku was almost breathless with expectation. Floyd met his gaze, confidence shining in his eyes. Professor, I believe I've figured it out. Kanraku's breathing quickened with excitement. Grasping Floyd's shoulders, he urged, tell me. What have you discerned? Floyd looked at Kanraku and continued, Professor, remember what I mentioned on the boat? About every beast having an inherent ability to release specific magic skills, each corresponding to a particular type. You mean like water-type beasts releasing water moves? Kanraku sought clarification. Exactly. But there's a nuance. Some beasts can release moves of types that aren't inherently theirs, Floyd elaborated. Kanraku's brow furrowed with skepticism. How's that possible? If they don't possess the type, how can they manifest its moves? Consider Blastoise's spinning shell move. Does it strictly fall under a water move just because Blastoise resembles a turtle, a typical aquatic creature? Floyd posed. Kanraku pondered, rubbing his chin and contemplating. Then Floyd added. And think about Chansey healing Blastoise at sea. Chansey isn't water elemental, yet it performed a water move. Kanraku's skepticism wavered. You have a point. I confirmed in my research that Chansey isn't water-typed. But then, how can it execute a water move? Floyd nodded, exactly that's the problem. Now, look at the dominant light gray color and compare it to the small light gray spots. The dominant one is likely the beast's inherent type. The small spots? They might represent moves the beast can learn from other types. Look at Chansey. See that color spot? It's the shade similar to the water type, it might be the water move she learned on the sea. Chapter 57, Dragon Clues. I will take note of this, Floyd-san. Inviting you here was the right decision, Kanraku said, sighing with relief and looking at Floyd with appreciation. Well, Professor, we haven't yet confirmed everything, ha ha ha. But if you run into any issues, just reach out to me, Floyd responded with a chuckle, giving Kanraku's shoulder a friendly pat. I have a strong feeling that what you're saying is correct, perhaps I'm overestimating you, but I don't think so, especially coming from you, Kanraku said, laughing in return. Perhaps you are, Floyd responded with a playful sigh. Well, let's not talk about it, Kanraku shifted the topic, clicking on another file, revealing data on Squirtle and Wartortle. This is the outcome after using your poke block. Both Squirtle and Wartortle showed a clear rejuvenation in their energy levels, Kanraku said with a tone of admiration. And it doesn't stop with them, he continued, pulling up data on several other Pokémon. All of them show an increase in energy when consuming your poke block. If many people learn this method, it could certainly alleviate some of the challenges we face in feeding the beasts, Floyd commented. That's the next step for now, creating a blueprint for the blender, and then we can kickstart its production, Kanraku said with a nod. The two continued discussing various berries. As Floyd detailed each one, Kanraku meticulously recorded his descriptions. Suddenly, Floyd's eyes were drawn to a specific herb. Do you recognize this leaf? Kanraku examined the leaf, and he responded in question, yes, that's the yellow leaf. Is it special? I refer to it as the king's leaf. Consumed on its own, it's quite ordinary. However, when combined with other medicines, it enhances their effects. It can even be a primary ingredient for specific remedies, Floyd shared, thinking that this was one material he needed for waking up Dragonite Mother. Interesting. There's plenty of it in the Kimono Hatch forests, Kanraku remarked. Could you specify its exact location? Floyd inquired, curious. Why? Are you planning a trip? It's a treacherous place, Kanraku said, his face lined with concern as he sensed Floyd's intentions. I do plan to, but not immediately. I'm waiting until my Axew evolves, Floyd clarified. What? Is it evolving? I'd like to be there, you must tell me when that happens. I must witness it, Kanraku exclaimed, his previous energy returning. Only if you share the location, Floyd teased. You're serious about this, aren't you? Kanraku said, pausing for a moment, his gaze deep and contemplative. Very well. Head straight into the beast's sanctuary, and from there, to the Kimono Hatch forests. You must go straight, and as you go, you'll need to climb for over 700 meters due to the rising terrain. If you decide to go, let me know. I'll have my partner assist you. Floyd nodded, understood. By the way, have you come across a bud-like yellow plant with yellow-green and white leaves? Kanraku pondered for a moment, is it another healing herb? Yes, it's effective for reviving the unconscious. I've named it Vivichoke, Floyd detailed. I'll take note of it and inform you if I spot any, Kanraku promised. After a few minutes of discussion, Floyd left the laboratory and returned to his room. Glancing around, he noticed his Pokémon were asleep. However, he realized that Dratini and Axew were missing. With a hint of concern, Floyd headed outside. To his surprise, he found Dratini and Axew sparring. Dratini was constantly on the offensive, trying to find an opening, while Axew played a more defensive role. Dratini, despite its best efforts, struggled due to the level difference between them. As Dratini was about to use extreme speed, Floyd swiftly grabbed it. When did I say you could train this evening? Floyd questioned, holding the wriggling Dratini firmly. Dratini made a small noise, clearly trying to break free, but Floyd's grip was too strong. He then turned his gaze to Axew. Axew, did you also forget my instructions? Floyd's tone made it clear he wasn't pleased. Axew hung its head, looking a bit guilty. Axew, it murmured apologetically. Let's head back inside and get some rest, Floyd sighed as he suggested. He knew Dratini should be the culprit. The trio made their way back to the room. To ensure a peaceful night, Floyd gently massaged both Pokémon, using a special technique to help them sleep. Once they were settled, Floyd checked the updates on his game panel. He noted the changes in the proficiency multiplier. Novice proficiency, 15 points. Intermediate proficiency, 100 points. Advanced proficiency, 750 points. Master proficiency, 2000 points. Peak, 4000 points. His point total had returned to its original amount, 8390. Delving deeper into the updates, he found a new feature labeled Dragon Clues alongside existing ones like Tasks, Simulator, Berries Locator, and Shop. He attempted to query the system for details but received no response. The system's absence weighed on him, causing a heavy sigh. However, his curiosity pushed him to explore the new feature. The Dragon Clues section had various options and prices. Dragon Clue. Dragon Plate equals 50,000 points. Dragon Crystal equals 40,000 points. Legendary Pokémon. Specific name equals 30,000 points. Random equals 25,000 points. Dragon Type, non-legendary. Specific name, pseudo-legendary, equals 20,000 points. Specific type, pseudo-legendary, equals 15,000 points. Specific type, random, equals 10,000 points. Specific name, Dragon Egg Group non-pseudo-legendary, 10,000. Specific type, Dragon Egg Group non-pseudo-legendary, random, 8,000. Floyd scrutinized the details. He deduced that purchasing the name option would provide a clue related to a specific name of Pokémon he will mention, while the type option would offer hints based on a Pokémon's type. He contemplated the potential types and their associations. For instance, selecting ground would relate to both dragon and ground types. Yet if dragon was chosen, it would exclusively pertain to dragon types. He pondered over the types and their nuances, especially the specifics surrounding the random type. He theorized about possible Pokémon and their alignments. If he bought a types with random and chose Ghost, it should only be Dragapult, right? The mention of a dragon plate intrigued him. He wondered if this item was bought, would he encounter the mythical Pokémon, Arceus? Floyd tried to discover more features, but it seemed he had explored all the recent updates because he didn't find anything new. But what is Dragon Crystal? He doesn't know it. With his mind buzzing from the plethora of information, he decided it was time to rest. He laid down and let sleep take over. Chapter 58, Training Before Twilight. September 3, 2005. 4 a.m. Ihu, Master, wake up. Floyd, who was deep in sleep, felt someone nudging him. Ihu, I want to train. Train. Floyd slowly opened his eyes, seeing Dratini above him. Still groggy, he inquired, train. Ihu, yes, training. Yawning, Floyd checked the time. The surroundings still bathed in darkness confirmed it was indeed early morning. With a sigh, he hugged Dratini closer, murmuring, it's early. Let's sleep a bit more. Ihu, I don't want to. Dratini tried to wriggle free from Floyd's grasp. Ihu, I really want to train. Feeling Dratini's noises, Floyd opened his eyes and became fully awakened. Oh, so it wasn't a dream. You really want to train now? He asked. Ihu, yes. Rubbing his eyes, Floyd stood up, went to the refrigerator, sipped some water, and contemplated Dratini's eagerness. While Pokémon didn't require as much sleep as humans due to their heightened stamina, he realized his own dragon power also adjusted his sleep requirements. But out of human habit, he tended to follow a typical sleep pattern. 30 minutes later, at the Beast Sanctuary. Currently, Horsa was intently practicing her marksmanship with the water gun move. Floyd, along with leader Gumi, played the opponents. Owing to the early hour, Floyd chose not to engage the Squirtles, instead enlisting the leader Gumi and him as Horsa's primary sparring partner. Having invested 1,000 points in Gumi's breeding method, including the Hisuian method, Floyd had a Hisuian variant among the team. These Gumis are already capable of training in mild battles, even if they were just soy sauce here. The leader Gumi was tasked with challenging Horsa with bubble and water gun moves. Horsa's primary objective was to hit Floyd, while leader Gumi had the freedom to hit her without getting hit back. For fairness, Floyd lowered his skills to level the field against Horsa. If it's a normal fight, Horsa would not stand a chance against Floyd, but Floyd adjusts his speed and strength to be lower than her. And now Horsa was struggling with them. In her mind, he already cursed Dratini countless times. If not for him initiating a training early this morning, she should still be sleeping few more hours, and now because of Dratini, she was also forced to train here. In the midst of the struggle, Horsa's thoughts were filled with frustration, cursing Dratini countless times on her mind for initiating this dawn training. If not for him, she would still be sleeping a few more hours. And now she was sharing the struggles. On the other hand, leader Gumi was elated to participate. Don't underestimate this little guy. His prior experience with the circus with his previous owner had honed his bubble and water gun moves. In a strategic move, Horsa unleashed a smokescreen, creating a dense fog. Floyd, shrouded by black smoke, sensing her intent, "Gumi, you know what you're going to do." Gumi nodded. Floyd signaled Gumi, and both braced for her next move, then he rushed first towards her. Gumi uses water move. Inside the smokescreen, Horsa was in the midst of a dragon dance. As she neared its completion, Floyd closed in towards her. Simultaneously, a stream from Gumi's water gun struck her. Although Floyd came to her first, Gumi's water move hit first, and then Horsa momentarily lost balance. As she stepped back and she managed to finish her dragon dance, boosting her agility. Floyd's attempt to tag her was thwarted as she deftly dodged him. Floyd had previously coached her on this tactic, since she would just lose points, just endure some hit or touch to ensure the dragon dance's completion for increased agility and evasion. This tactic was particularly effective when outnumbered in real battles. However, there are some scenarios where the Pokémon will succumb to pain that causes them to deactivate their skills, losing calm and focus. Pokémon must need to endure pain without losing focus. This was a skill Horsa was still lacking. She must have been treated like a princess from a young age, given that she was unfamiliar with physical moves. She excelled in special attack moves, but the moment she felt pain, she would lose her focus. This time, however, she managed to endure the pain, successfully executing Dragon Dance. She retreated several meters, seizing this opportunity. She unleashed her water gun on Floyd. Floyd just smiled, calling her naive, before evading the blast and charging at Horsa. Seeing him advance, panic surged through Horsa. She scrambled to remember the rules. If she initiated contact first, she could score points. Realizing this wasn't a foul and could be considered a counterattack, a glint of determination appeared in her eyes. As Floyd was moments away from tagging her, Horsa made an unexpected move, dodging him and striking Floyd in the stomach. Pu. Floyd grunted in pain as he was thrown back into a tree. Meanwhile, Horsa was met with Gumi's bubble attack, sending her spiraling backward. Axu, who had been struggling fighting with Dratini and 4 other Gumis, halted and darted toward Floyd. Munchlax, despite being engrossed in his meal, followed suit. Groaning, Floyd tried to stand, brushing off the pain. Axu. Ihu. Gumi. Gu. Gumi. Gu, Gumi. Munchlax. Floyd coughed, but managed a grin. "Don't worry, I'm fine. Continue your training," he assured them. Seeing their trainer in good spirits, the Pokémon resumed their exercises. The leader Gumi approached Floyd, pointing toward Horsa. Following the gesture, Floyd noticed Horsa's despondent expression. "Why so down?" he inquired. Horsa looked up, lowering her head in response. "Horsa, I got hit 5 times. Hearing her reason, Floyd offered a comforting pat. "Remember when I promised to increase your food portion if you learned a new move?" Her eyes sparkled with hope. "Horsa, did I learn a new move?" Floyd grinned. "Indeed, you've learned tackle, so, I'll keep my promise." Horsa leaped joyfully, her earlier disappointment forgotten. Turning to the leader Gumi, Floyd praised, "And you, thanks for your efforts today." The leader Gumi bobbed his head, overjoyed to have made a significant contribution. Together, they watched the face-off between the 4 Gumis, Dratini and Axu. After observing for a while, Floyd signaled a halt. "Now, 2 against 1. Dratini, take on the Gumis, matching your moves against theirs. Axu, defend the moves of the other 2 Gumis and try to grasp the essence of the protect move." "Understood." Gumi. X4. Axu. Ihu. Without delay, they plunged back into training. Meanwhile, Floyd directed Horsa and Gumi. "Both of you, run 5 laps. Follow Munchlax." Knowing that not exercising after eating meant no refills on food, Munchlax was motivated to start his mild training regime. After an intensive 2-hour training session, they made their way back into the Kimono Hatch forest. Chapter 59, Rekindling the Fire. As Floyd and his Pokémon journeyed towards the Kimono Hatch forest, they stumbled upon some scouts in distress, particularly over a troublesome Growlithe. This Growlithe, rambunctious and elusive, had been eluding the scouts all day. When the creature spotted Floyd, it dashed straight towards him, seeking refuge behind his legs. Growlithe mumbled softly. A Chinese teenager, appearing to be between 18 and 20 with a smattering of freckles on his face, approached with a look of mild embarrassment. "Youngest," he greeted. Floyd sighed inwardly, having already surrendered to that nickname. Recognizing the young man, he responded, "Brother Hu, what's the commotion about? This beast here has been causing quite the ruckus. We intended to use him for scouting, but he seems resistant. We've been wary of getting too close for fear of an accident," Hu Tianyi explained with a hint of frustration in his voice. Floyd's gaze shifted from the skittish Growlithe to the 4 other obedient Growlithe, who responded with synchronized urs when they caught his attention. A realization dawned on him. "Isn't this the little guy who's always tailing Chansey? The timid one?" At the mention of Chansey, Growlithe perked up. Chansey? Another beast?" Hu Tianyi queried, a touch confused. "Yes, a healing beast. Pink in color," clarified Floyd. "Oh, the pink one. Are they close?" "They must have been separated during yesterday's when Captain Chen Yu and others did some relocation." "That explains a lot," Hu Tianyi pieced together. Floyd nodded, they were indeed close. "This one here likely became distressed after being separated from Chansey. He suffered traumas from the humans. Let me take care this guy for now." Considering this revelation, Hu Tianyi was hesitant. "Taking this one might pose a risk to you. Its traumatic experiences with humans have left it wary and unpredictable." Floyd reassured him, "Trust me, it'll be more problematic if I leave him behind. Besides, I have many Pokémon who can protect me." Upon hearing Floyd's mention of the many Pokémon, Hu Tianyi glanced over his shoulder, taking in the number of creatures behind Floyd. A hint of uncertainty crept into his voice. "Protect you? With this many beasts? That seems even more troublesome. But, I've already warned you. If something happens, remember I've warned you." "I understand," Floyd replied with a nod. Floyd was about to depart when Hu Tianyi offered, "Here, take this whistle." But Floyd interrupted, "I've got one. Vice Captain Kong Chihun gave it to me, showing the whistle in his hand. Noting the whistle, Hu Tianyi responded, "All right then. If you run into any trouble, just blow the whistle. I'll be heading back." Motioning for Groliath to follow, Floyd began heading towards the Kimono Hatch forest. Groliath hesitated for a moment, but eventually followed after him. "Wait! Where are you going?" Hu Tianyi shouted, alarmed to see Floyd heading deeper into the forest. "I'm venturing in to train my beasts," Floyd responded without slowing his pace. "Youngest? That's too dangerous." Concern evident in his voice, Hu Tianyi made as if to chase after Floyd, but was stopped by Ivan, another scout. "Don't worry over him. He's more stronger than you might think. We should just await the captain's return," Ivan reassured. "Really? Aren't you concerned for him? After all, he's one of yours," Hu Tianyi probed. Ivan, resuming his work, remarked, "That's precisely why I trust him. I've known him longer than you have." Shaking his head with exasperation, Hu Tianyi muttered, "Really, these people. Well, whatever. It's out of my hands now," and returned to his duties. "Horsa, use Dragon Dance. Dratini, Thunder Wave." Floyd commanded as two wild Nidorans, one female and one male, charged towards them. "Horsa! Ihu!" Groliath clung closely to Floyd, his body trembling, unable to tear his eyes from the ongoing battle. A pang of regret settled in, he wished he hadn't decided to follow Floyd into this confrontation. All the while, Floyd remained laser-focused on the action, paying no mind to Growlith's visible discomfort. As the skirmish unfolded, the female Nidoran became paralyzed, rooted to the spot, while her male counterpart dodged an attack from Dratini only to be thrown off balance and separated from her. Despite the evident pain, Horsa managed to complete her dragon dance. Seizing the opportunity, both Nidorans launched a poison sting attack. "Dratini, use Twister!" Floyd ordered. Following his command, Dratini whipped up a vortex with its tail, deflecting their strikes. "Now, Horsa, water gun!" Floyd called out. With precision, Horsa targeted the male Nidoran, sending him flying. The female Nidoran, caught by surprise, turned to see her partner in distress. Floyd didn't miss a beat. "Dratini, use extreme speed!" A resounding crash echoed as the female Nidoran was hit hard, rendering her unconscious. The male, struggling to get to his feet, met a similar fate after Floyd commanded, "Horsa, tackle!" Floyd took a moment, gazing down at the defeated creatures with a pang of sympathy. He was, after all, the instigator of this altercation. He gently placed some food next to them as a gesture of goodwill before continuing on his path. Rattata currently inside a Can's stomach, from Chapter 4, "It's unfair, I didn't receive such a treatment, there are racist here," crying face. A few hours later. Floyd tensed as two Spearow lunged at him. "Axu, use breaking swipe!" he shouted. Axu! With a swift motion of its tail, Axu countered the attackers, causing them to screech in pain. Two Spearow screamed in pain. The battle continued with a barrage of commands: Horsa, water gun. Dratini, extreme speed. Bang! Axu, use dragon claw! Floyd shouted. A deep green energy came out in both Axu's claws, then slashed both of them. Both Spearow screamed, unconscious, and were ultimately defeated. What Axu uses is not the usual dragon claw but a two-clawed assault attack. "Hurry up, let's return back, it's dangerous here," Floyd, aware of the Spearow's notorious vengeful nature, decided against lingering and quickly chose to retreat. A few minutes later, they found themselves nearing the safety of Kimono Hatch forests. During their journey, they encountered a scout, exchanging friendly greetings as they continued on their path. Floyd stared at the trembling Groliath. "If you keep this up," he began, his voice firm and cold, "then what was the point of the professor rescuing you? Growlithe, overwhelmed by the intensity of the moment, shivered more deeply. The weight of Floyd's words caused him to lower his head in shame. Floyd gestured to some beasts who were working, drawing Growlithe's attention to the other Pokémon. See all these beasts? Each of them has faced tragedies similar to yours, tormented by humans. Yet look at them now. They've not only moved on but are also doing everything they can to repay the professor's kindness, Floyd stated, trying to instill some sense of responsibility in Growlithe. He continued, a touch of exasperation coloring his voice, and you? Instead of helping, you remain a coward, avoiding not just humans but even other beasts. Do you not feel a sense of gratitude for being saved? Growlithe's response was a series of anxious whines, over. His eyes, however, told a different story, shimmering with a mix of sincerity and unease. He desperately wanted Floyd to understand. Understanding the message in Growlithe's eyes, Floyd responded and knew this guy had gratitude in his heart. He paused, collecting his thoughts before continuing, think about Chansey. She's moved past her traumas and found purpose. And you, what is your purpose here? Will you continue hiding like this forever? What if Chansey was gone? Professor was gone? And everyone else here were gone? Who would you rely on? The weight of Floyd's words seemed to press down on Growlithe. He was at war with himself, torn between wanting to respond and the ingrained fears holding him back. But their conversation was abruptly interrupted by a series of loud, distressing cries echoing from the direction of the Kimona Hatch forest. Ah! Floyd's face paled. Spearows. And that location. A sudden realization hit him hard, the scouts. He exclaimed, his voice edged with panic. Shit! Chapter 60, Prelude to the Battle. In the midst of their labor, the group of rat-attas, diligently hauling wood, were halted in their tracks by the approach of a figure, a familiar one, Floyd. Initially, confusion painted their tiny faces, yet upon recognizing Floyd, a wave of relief replaced their caution. Memories of Floyd's kindness, particularly the tasty treats he often shared, cemented their trust in him. Similar to popular figures here like Kanraku, Blastoise, and Chansey, Floyd was also known by them. As he reached them, urgency lacing his tone, Floyd declared, Rattata, this time is urgent. I need you to rush and call Blastoise and others. We have a crisis at Kimona Hatch Forest. Spearows are preparing to strike. There's no time, please, we need to act swiftly. The mere mention of Spearows was enough to send a shiver down their spines. Without hesitation, they released the wood they were carrying, nodding in understanding of the gravity of their new task. Like a whirlwind, they darted toward the beast's sanctuary. Drawing even more attention, Floyd took a whistle from around his neck and blew it with such vigor that its echo seemed to resonate in the very heart of the area. Prrrrrrrrrrrt. Around him, various Pokémon ceased their activities, their gazes locked onto him, awaiting instructions. With a heavy heart but a commanding voice, Floyd addressed the gathering. There's a dire situation unfolding at Kimona Hatch Forest. Spearows are on the attack. I beseech anyone willing to join me in a rescue mission. If you choose not to, I understand, but please alert the rescue teams. We need unity now, more than ever. Panic will be our downfall, we just need to stay calm. There were murmurs and discernible shock amongst the Pokémon, yet they knew their roles. Calls of affirmation echoed. Machok. Tweet. Free. Several Pokémon, seeing Floyd's determination, decided to accompany him, following on his back for swifter travel. Floyd, looking at Growlithe, advised, it's best you retreat to the sanctuary. To the beast's sanctuary, Floyd urged, addressing Growlithe with a look of deep concern. You too, it's no longer safe here. And you too, his gaze then shifted to the 5 Gumis and Munchlax, hoping they would heed his warning. Gu. Gumi. Gudom. Gumi. Gu. Gumi. Munch lax. Each of them shook their heads firmly, their expressions defiant. Rejecting Floyd's plea to retreat, their actions spoke volumes. Their bond with Floyd was undeniable. Not just a friend, he was their haven, their home. The idea of leaving him alone in danger was unthinkable. They were determined to stand by him, to protect him. Seeing their unwavering loyalty, Floyd felt a wave of emotion, touched by their gesture. He nodded slowly, eyes glistening, and managed to say, "Okay, but promise to be cautious. Everyone, let's move out. Free. Ma choke. Tweet. Axe you. Ihu." Without hesitation, the group began their dash towards the ominous forest. Behind them, Groliath seemed caught in a whirlwind of emotions. Deep in contemplation, his thoughts were a tangled web of fear and loyalty. He pondered on Floyd's warning, the haunting thoughts consuming him. What if Chansey was gone? What about the professor? If everyone I cared for was taken away, who would be there for me? He dreaded the thought of falling into the clutches of a cruel human again. His past was a painful memory, and he knew all too well the reality of his limitations in battle. The notion of returning to the life of being slaves was a nightmare. However, as his thoughts spiraled, memories of the warmth and kindness showered upon him by Chansey, Kenraku, Floyd, Blastoise, and others flooded his heart. The idea of losing them was unbearable. Gathering his courage, with newfound resolve shining in his eyes, Groliath made a monumental decision. With determination fueling his every step, he followed Floyd towards the looming dangers of Kimona Hatch Forest. Flashback. Renming and Nguyen Ton Quang had their peace shattered by the frantic return of their Starly and Pidgey. Their birds' gestures pointed towards an impending threat in the skies. Peering into the distance, Nguyen grabbed binoculars, only to have his worst fears confirmed. A flock of Spearows and Fearows, their numbers overwhelming, were rapidly approaching. Fear gripping him, he cried out, "Fuck!" Alarmed, Ren took the binoculars for confirmation, his reaction mirroring Nguyen's. In desperation, he blew a whistle, its shrill note a clear signal of retreat. Behind them, Le Mai Lin, along with others, heard the whistle's warning. With her Tyrogue and Mankey, she dashed forward, seeking answers. Yvonne with Spinarak, Jonathan with his new beasts, Groliath, Hu Tianyi with Evie, and others swiftly followed. "What is it?" Meeting the panicked duo of Renming and Nguyen Ton Quang, Le Mai Lin demanded an explanation. "Captain! We must fall back. There are scores of flying Pokémon, I reckon more than 50. Nguyen reported. "What?" Le Mai Lin, faced with this unforeseen calamity, was left in sheer disbelief. What happened? Yvonne, along with others, hastened their steps, urgency evident in their strides. "Go back! Retreat! There's no time for explanations now. Retreat and blow the whistle!" Le Mai Lin's voice pierced through the air, dripping with panic and desperation. "Prrrrrrrrrrt! Prrrrrrrrrt! Prrrrrrrrrt!" Acknowledging her command, Yvonne declared, "All right, let's head back," and they swiftly made their exit. Present time. As Floyd sprinted alongside the Pokémon, he quickly accounted for the numbers. There were 18 of them, 4 Rattatas, 3 Pidgeys, 3 Butterfrees, 2 Bidofs, 2 Geodudes, a Machoke, a Mankey, a Flavi, and a Pidgeotto. Coupled with his 9 Pokémon, that made a total of 27. Many of these Pokémon held Floyd in high regard, recalling how under his leadership, they had once deflected missiles. Some remembered the gentle touch of his healing hands on their injured young, while others fondly reminisced the times he fed them. "Flavi, Bidof, Gumi, Horsa, Guadud. You are all pivotal in our strategy," Floyd began, outlining the plan. "Horsa, Gumi, and Bidofs, combine your water moves with Flavi's electric abilities. Water first, then electricity. Clear." Fla AAAA Phi. Betuof X2. Gumi X5. Horsa. They nodded affirmatively. Geodudes, I need your strongest rock moves. Floyd's gaze was earnest. Geodude, the Geodudes expressed uncertainty. You're unsure? Floyd asked, a hint of surprise in his tone. Geodude, they responded with evident disappointment. What about rollout? Can you use that? Floyd suggested, remembering this was a rock move. Geodude, they nodded enthusiastically. Excellent. Use it against our foes. Understand. Geodude X2. Turning to the flying types, Floyd continued, Pidgeotto, Pidgeys, Butterfreeze, you won't directly combat them. Instead, cause disturbances with your broad-ranged moves. Tweet. Pidgeot. Free. All nodded in agreement. Machoke, Mankey, Rattatas, focus on throwing stones. If they get close, unleash your strongest moves. Got that? Mankey. Machoke. Rattata. They signaled their affirmation. A sigh of relief escaped Floyd's lips, watching their determination. As they pressed on, they encountered Ellie Mylin and her team. Youngest, why are you here? Ellie Mylin's voice held a mix of concern and curiosity. Sister Lin, it's my fault. I provoked these creatures earlier. I deeply regret my actions, Floyd said, bowing deeply in apology. We need solutions, not apologies, at this hour, Yvonne interjected. These Pokémon behind me are here to help, Floyd gestured toward the Pokémon trailing him. I need to borrow all of your Pokémon. Time is urgent. I need to communicate with them. Ellie Mylin seemed lost, then what's our role in this? Sister Lin, everyone, your safety is important. Retreat for now, there's nothing you can do here. I've already signaled for Blastoise's help. They will join us soon, Floyd's voice held a plea. But what about you? Ellie Mylin's voice was edged with worry. Trust me, I can handle this, Floyd's eyes shone with unwavering resolve. They're approaching. Nguyen Ton Quang's voice echoed, his gaze fixed through binoculars. I trust Floyd, he knows what he's doing, Jonathan said, remembering how Kanrika described how he used the beasts to defend missiles. His tone holds reverence for Floyd's past actions. I understand. Just be careful, Ellie Mylin murmured. Youngest, you must be careful, echoed the voices of the team, filled with genuine concern, as they retreated to safety. I will, Floyd nodded with determination. Chapter 61, A Hidden Fire with Fierce Determination. Floyd's breath hitched. They're here. With a surge of anticipation, he peered through his binoculars. Damn it, he murmured, disbelief evident in his voice. How can there be so many? 50? Maybe 60? Or 70? And 40. Floyd's heart tightened at the sight. Axew, Horsa. Dragon Dance. Floyd's command rang out with authority. With a soft acknowledgement, Horsa and Axew, both Pokémon began their graceful spin, dancing in perfect harmony. Bidoof, Guadud, Munchlax's defense curl. He ordered. Echoing Floyd's command, the Pokémon responded, Bidoof, Geodude, and Munchlax. Butterfree, Pidgeotto, Pidgey, take your positions. Floyd's voice was filled with urgency. The air around them buzzed as the Pokémon took flight, assuming their strategic positions. Starly, Machoke, Mankey, Rattata, Growlithe, Spinarak, be ready to use your skills or throw a stone as soon as they approach. Floyd's instructions were precise, the gravity of the situation evident in his tone. The chorus of Pokémon acknowledgements filled the air, signaling their readiness. Fluffy, Eevee, Vulpix, it's up to you now, Floyd said, his voice heavy with responsibility. As the enemy approached, Floyd's voice boomed, Butterfree, Pidgeotto, Pidgey, strike now! Pidgeotto, with fire in its eyes, glared at its adversaries, Spearow and Fearow, and unleashed a powerful whirlwind. The ensuing chaos saw several Spearow, who were at the forefront, sent hurtling backward, crashing into their comrades. With impeccable timing, the Butterfree and Pidgey unleashed a formidable gust move. The sound of its power, swish high, filled the air as Spearow took the brunt of the damage. Gummy. Bubble. Bidoof, Horsa. Water gun. Floyd's commands were relentless. The Pokémon responded in kind, their combined powers forming a spectacular display of might against their adversaries. Vulpix, Eevee, lend your support with helping hand. The two Pokémon poured their energy into Fluffy. Empowered, Fluffy released a roar, Flay-a-a-a-a-a-offy, as a surge of electric energy crackled from her body, a thunder shock that resonated with the sound tssssss, she 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 she. Drrrrrrrtttttttttttt. The devastating attack left half the group of Spearow writhing in pain, incapacitated. But the battle was far from over. The sight of the four menacing Fearow, eyes filled with murderous intent, sent chills down Floyd's spine. We must hold the line. Attack with everything you've got. Floyd's voice was filled with desperation. The battlefield was ablaze with moves and attacks. Amidst the chaos, two Fearows, now even more enraged, charged forward with deadly intent. Guaidud, counter with rollout. The ground shook as two Guaidud rolled forward with immense force. Yet, shockingly, they were repelled back. The Fearows, far from defeated, attacked with renewed ferocity. Floyd's voice echoed above the din, Butterfree, Pidgeotto, Pidgey, strike once more. The combined powers of Whirlwind and Gust tore through the enemy ranks. In the midst of the battle, Floyd suddenly found himself targeted by another two Fearow. With no time to react, he tapped into his dragon power to shield himself. Just as the situation looked dire, a fiery red Growlithe with stark black stripes and a majestic white mane intercepted, clashing head-on with a one Fearow. Floyd grappled with the other Fearow, its beak piercing his hand. With all his might, he hurled it into a wall. The blood on his hand started to drop. But the onslaught continued. As two more Fearow rushed in, Floyd, with desperation evident in his voice, yelled, Axew, breaking swipe. Axew. Axew rushed forward, but despite his strength, was overwhelmed by the two evolved Fearow. They surrounded Floyd and his Pokémon, ready for the final assault. Everyone, fall back behind me. Floyd's voice was resolute. He would protect them at any cost. The scene was dire. Everyone had responded, even the two injured Guaidud, each clutching a pair of Rattata. Machoke and Mankey found themselves at a disadvantage due to their types. Fluffy, though brimming with courage, was drained from her previous onslaughts. The elegant Butterfree, Pidgeotto, Pidgey, and even the resilient Starly, bearing bruises marking their valor, were nearing their limits. While Bidoof, the quintet of Gumis, Spinarak, and Munchlax remained unscathed, their strength was not enough. Eevee and Vulpix, though injury-free, were gasping for breath. The four brave Growlithe, despite their resistance to flying types, bore the scars of the relentless Spearow assaults. Out of nowhere, two more Fearow charged at Floyd with menacing speed. This time, Horsa, filled with determination and buffed by her dragon dance, valiantly tackled one. The boost allowed Horsa to repel her attacker. Meanwhile, Dratini unleashed extreme speed against the other Fearow. But the outcome wasn't as hoped. Dratini's strength fell short, sending him spiraling away. In this crucial moment, the previously displaced Growlithe surged back into action, sending the Fearow crashing to the ground, rendered unconscious. Growlithe, though victorious, staggered, panting heavily from the injuries of prior confrontations. The battlefield count stood at 3 injured Fearow and 13 battered Spearow against Floyd's dwindling ranks. Addressing the Pharaoh that clearly led the flock, Floyd called out, "Pharaoh, shall we conclude this clash? Both sides are battered. There's nothing to gain from further bloodshed." Floyd hoped to stall, praying for Blastoise's timely intervention. But the proposal seemed to infuriate the Pharaoh leader even more. Their pride wounded, the idea of retreat after suffering losses, especially at the urging of a mere human, was intolerable. With tensions mounting, Floyd, filled with determination, rallied his troops. "We must stand united in this life-or-death battle. Fight with everything you have." As he invoked the full might of his dragon power, his Pokémon tapped into this violent energy, bolstering their resolve. Amidst this, Growlithe, blood matting his fur and eyes spinning from exhaustion, was plagued by haunting thoughts of loss. Memories of Kanraku's Blastoise, who had barely escaped death, raced through his mind. If they will die, he will be slave. If they are gone, he will be a slave. I don't. Stop it. I don't want it. They are my home. The fear of becoming slaves gnawed at him. The thought was unbearable. Determined to protect his home, Growlithe roared, appeared in front, sucking on Floyd's dragon power in a surprising twist. "Don't!" Floyd shouted. He knew how violent his energy could be, especially towards non-dragon related Pokémon. If Growlithe couldn't release this energy from his body, it would cause even more damage. The battlefield fell silent. Everyone stared in awe as the wounded Growlithe, now with blazing red eyes, took a step forward. When a Pharaoh lunged, Growlithe retaliated with a thunderous roar, sending it crashing to the ground, unconscious. Another Spearow met the same fate. But the exertion took its toll on Growlithe, who then collapsed. Floyd was taken aback. That was. But he was interrupted by the sight of the remaining Pharaoh, filled with rage, with another Spearow attacking the fallen Growlithe. "Defend him! Everyone, attack!" Floyd's command was clear. His Pokémon charged with renewed determination, overpowering the remaining Spearow and Pharaoh. Without their three Pharaoh, the strength of their adversaries dwindled. Overwhelmed with gratitude and awe, Floyd gazed at the unconscious Growlithe. Pokémon, Growlithe, Hisuian disappearing 45%. Level, 17. Type, Fire and Rock. Ability, Rock Head. Moves: Intermediate, Bite, Tackle. Beginner, Howl, Ember, Head Smash, Outrage. Genetic Skill, Head Smash. Chapter 62, Aftermath. Floyd swiftly retrieved a healing powder, generously applying it to each injured Pokémon. "All of you have stood by me this time, and I will never forget it. When this is over, come to me. A grand feast of extra food will await you," he vowed, eyes brimming with gratitude. Hearing this promise, the battered Pokémon perked up, thoughts of the promised feast bringing a glint to their weary eyes. Floyd gave a bittersweet smile, reflecting on the simplicity of Pokémon. Their joy could be sparked by the mere mention of food, even when they had risked their lives for him. He silently committed to cherishing and treating them better upon their return. His gaze then shifted to the battlefield. To an onlooker, the scene might seem chaotic, but in reality, only a mere 3 minutes had passed since he'd left the safety of the zone. Cradling an unconscious Growlithe, while the other 4 injured Growlithe looked on with concern for the little guy's condition. Although they weren't familiar with him, they knew he was their kin, and he had helped them earlier. So, Floyd calmly reassured them, "Don't worry, he's just unconscious, he will be fine later." The 4 Growlithe nodded and howled in agreement. Floyd observed the little guy and was surprised that he could see this guy's stats. He knew this little guy was quite strong, as he had witnessed him fighting with his previous owner. However, he had also suffered a lot of trauma, which had made him timid. Floyd didn't expect that this guy would awaken the outrage move. He remembered the scene when the Growlithe appeared before him, absorbing his dragon power, and accidentally learned outrage. Fortunately, the violent energy that Growlithe absorbed was converted into the outrage move. Although it was still parenthesis in his abilities, meaning he couldn't control it yet and it would activate only in dire straits, Floyd recalled that the system had explained it to him before when Blastoise was on the verge of death. The Rain Dish ability had activated in a life-or-death situation, but Blastoise couldn't use it again now. Floyd also happened to notice one of the genetic skills Growlithe possessed, which was Rock Smash. He remembered when Growlithe had saved him from a Fearow, using this skill. Similar to Outrage, it was also a parenthesis in his abilities. Who would have thought that a seemingly timid Growlithe had such talents? If he didn't have this scanner or if Growlithe hadn't awakened the dragon move, he wouldn't have noticed it. Now, he looked at the little guy with appreciation. As he stood in the forest, the tranquility was shattered by an unexpected intrusion. The gentle rustling of grass beneath unseen footsteps sent a shiver down his spine, alerting him to the presence of an enemy. As he pondered this, a sudden rustling disrupted the forest's tranquility. The very air grew cold, and a malevolent presence approached. A bloodthirsty Ursaring, its gaze locked onto them, saliva dripping in anticipation. "Stay alert, everyone!" Floyd's voice was a sharp warning. But before the Ursaring could launch its attack, it was intercepted by a powerful shell. Blastoise! The mighty water Pokémon had arrived. With Blastoise's timely intervention, confidence surged among Floyd and the other Pokémon. Their belief was not misplaced. A powerful hydro pump from Blastoise sent the Ursaring crashing into a wall. The resulting impact left the Ursaring unconscious. Following his victory, Blastoise let out a triumphant roar, effectively warding off any lurking adversaries. Assessing the scene, littered with unconscious Spearow and Fearow, he turned to Floyd for inquiries. "No casualties," Floyd reported, "some injuries, but we're fine." Then, another sound of rustling grass from the surroundings further announced the arrival of Floyd's reinforcement, Le Mylin, Yvonne, Jonathan, Bianca, Kenriku, among others, all flanked by their respective Pokémon. Gazing at the aftermath, Kenriku questioned, "What on earth happened here?" Rushing over with a look of deep concern, Jonathan inquired, "Floyd, are you all right?" As others expressed their shock and confusion, Kenriku, piecing together the events, turned to Blastoise, "Was it you who did this?" Blastoise's gesture of pointing towards the downed Ursaring and then to himself, and finally towards the Fearow and back to Floyd, clarified the situation. The realization dawned on Kenriku, who then looked at Floyd with astonishment. "You were responsible for this." Floyd, ever humble, replied, "It was a group effort. Without them, I wouldn't have survived. Also, thanks to this young one," he said, lifting the unconscious Growlithe. "Chansey, Chansey!" Chansey appeared, instantly recognizing the Growlithe. With teary eyes, she rushed over, full of concern. She swiftly utilized her ability, Healer, activating Heal Pulse. "We should move, it's not safe here," Kenriku advised. "Aren't you taking them?" Floyd questioned, gesturing towards the Spearow and Fearow. "I tried before. They caused nothing but trouble. Wild beasts like these are hard to tame. I've gathered ample research on them, it's best to let them be," Kenriku explained, administering a healing powder to the male Fearow. Moments later, the Fearow stirred, weak and wary. Rising slowly, it was met with the stares of several humans. "Ee!" it roared, only for a large water move to shoot past, narrowly missing its head, creating a hole in a nearby tree. Fear gripped the Fearow as it glanced nervously at Blastoise. "Blastoise!" The water Pokémon issued a stern warning. Fearow acknowledged, nodding. "We should head back," Kenriku declared, leading the way to the safe zone. Growlithe had another haunting dream. His traumatic past resurfaced, one memory at a time. It began with his early years, enduring the cruel lashings of his previous owner, struggling for sustenance, facing off against a formidable beast, and the fateful rescue by Chansey and Kanraku. He recalled the moment when Floyd first cradled him in his arms and their daring stand against Firo. But then, something changed. Chansey's figure began to fade, disintegrating into fragments, followed by Kanraku, Blastoise, and Floyd, one by one. "Everyone! Please don't leave me! I won't be a coward anymore, just please! Don't leave me!" he cried out. Suddenly, his previous owner reappeared, clutching an iron ring. "No! I refuse to be enslaved!" Waking up, Growlithe's gaze met Floyd's, followed by Chansey, Kanraku, and several others. "Awake, are you?" Floyd said, patting him. "Young lad, you have my gratitude." In the past, such gestures might have scared Growlithe, but now there was only calm. "You've matured, Growlithe." From a timid creature to a brave soul, Kanraku remarked, ruffling its fur. For some reason, the touches of Floyd and Kanraku didn't stir any fear. Chansey, elated and proud, joined in, patting Growlithe's head. "It seems your fears have subsided. Perhaps your trauma is fading." Kanraku pondered aloud. Growlithe tilted his head, puzzled. "For now, rest up," Kanraku directed Chansey, "and let's attend to the other Pokémon as well." "Chansey," she acknowledged. "Floyd, we have matters to discuss. Join us for a meeting to provide some explanations," Kanraku beckoned. "Understood, Professor," Floyd replied, nodding in agreement. Chapter 63, Declaring a Battle? In the meeting room. "Everyone, let me apologize this time, it's my fault," Floyd stood up and bowed his head. "I don't understand, why do you need to apologize? It's not your fault. Isn't it natural to be attacked by beasts?" Jonathan asked. "It's because I provoked two of them. Actually, I understand the characteristic of these birds, which I call Spearow, their evolution is called Firo. These types of beasts possess vengeful characteristics. Once you provoke one member, all will chase you until you're exhausted. This is why I defeated two Spearow into unconsciousness so they couldn't summon their groups, but I did not expect they would still manage to find me," Floyd explained. "Then, I'm merely asking, why were you in Kimono Hatch Forest?" Chen Yu asked. "I was training there, actually, Brother Hu Tianyi can testify for me," Floyd responded. "Is this true?" Chen Yu asked Hu Tianyi. "Yes, it's true. I warned him, but he didn't listen, what else could I do?" Hu Tianyi shrugged helplessly. "Are you insane, training with hordes of wild beasts?" Li Milin scolded. "If I want to enhance my beast's strength, battling wild beasts is currently the best option," Floyd replied. "Actually, I'm more curious how you defeated them all. Despite your disadvantage, you handled it." Kanraku posed the question. At this, everyone looked curiously at Floyd. Those who had been witness to the scene could not help being unnerved, seeing so many beasts defeated and staring at this young man, the instigator of the scene. "It's simple, I know their weaknesses," Floyd admitted. "Weaknesses?" The room echoed in confusion. "Have I not mentioned before each beast has its own countermeasure? For instance, plants are vulnerable to fire, fire to water, and water to plant?" Floyd asked. "I believe I remember," Kanraku touched his chin. "Actually, these are not the only types. These three elements can also be matched with other types. For example, water is weak to plants, it is also vulnerable to some electric, and plants are weak to flying creatures, which the latter is weak to electric and some earthy beings, especially those creating stones. I'm uncertain about the others, but I believe in this concept, each type of beast has its own countermeasure," Floyd elaborated. "Do you possess beasts with an electric attribute on your team?" "It seems I didn't notice," asked Li Milin, puzzled. "Did you notice the pink creatures accompanied by a couple of sheep beasts?" They are electric-type beasts. I call the adult Fluffy, and Mariup is the younger one, Floyd enlightened them. I remember, is it the one who evolved when we were on Miadeo? Jonathan recalled. Only one? Even though I believe some of your points, battling more than 70 seems unfeasible, no. Kong Jihun frowned. I didn't rely solely on her. It was everyone's efforts. Had the 3 butterfly beasts and bird beasts not distracted them, had I not combined the water with Fluffy's electricity in addition to a 6-tailed beast, and the brown beast which boosted Fluffy's damage, had my beasts not been as strong, and had that coward Growlithe not aided me, I may not have survived, Floyd confessed. You indeed know beasts very well, Kenriku admitted, having recognized Floyd's knowledge even better than his own. So, it still depends on strategy, Chen Yu's eyes lit up. Floyd, could you inform us about the beast's abilities and the weaknesses you mentioned? Upon hearing this, everyone eyed Floyd in anticipation, even Kenriku. Despite his partnership with Blastoise, Kenriku never truly understood how to fight. He only used his power after battles or for maintaining his nutrition. However, he recognized Floyd's superior knowledge, remembering how Floyd had commanded the beasts to deflect missiles. If the first instance was luck, it was impossible to brand the next one the same. Strategy still mattered. How about later this afternoon? You know, it's still early now, and I still need to train my beasts, make poke blocks, dry berries, and feed some beasts later, Floyd said, a hint of embarrassment in his voice. Then how about we watch you? Kong Jihun proposed impatiently, intrigued by Floyd's earlier actions. If Floyd could do it, why couldn't he? His beasts were also of the electric type, after all. That seems like a good plan, right? Kenriku chimed in. Yeah, came the excited response reverberating around the meeting room. Is that appropriate? What about your jobs? Floyd wasn't objecting, but the idea seemed a bit troublesome to him. It's no trouble, we will return in the afternoon, Kenriku suggested. Well, you're the boss, Floyd sighed. Then what are you waiting for? Let's go, Jonathan urged, unable to wait. He had just acquired his Growlithe today. At first, he desired something larger and even considered leaving his Growlithe behind after the mission, but witnessing the previous Growlithe heroic action changed his mind. In Floyd's training place. Before I start explaining, for those who intend to pursue this trainer path, I need to ask, will you trust your beasts? Floyd asked. Everyone looked at him, puzzled and unsure of what he meant. Do you realize why my beasts follow my command in battle? That's because they trust me. I treat them well. There's a saying, as long as you treat your beasts with respect and care, they'll treat you the same way. But in this first stage of being a trainer, aside from me, the professor, his disciples, Sister Suzuki, Yvonne, Jonathan, and Bianca, you've already failed. Floyd explained. You mean the iron ring, right? Kong Jihun asked doubtfully. Yes, why not remove it and let all your beasts trust you? Floyd suggested. Then what's the difference between having beasts with the iron ring and without it? Chen Yu inquired, crossing his arms. Captain, isn't it obvious? Beasts will trust you more, and they will be more willing to fight with you, Floyd answered. I know that, but with the higher risk of being attacked, causing harm to ourselves, it seems the drawbacks outweigh the benefits. Why not train them while keeping the iron rings on their neck? We can prevent the risk while benefiting from the training, isn't that more reassuring? Chen Yu argued. So, you haven't fully trusted your beast then, Floyd concluded. I'll be frank, though I don't despise them, I don't trust them either, Chen Yu admitted. At this point, most of the people nodded, and Kenriku sighed helplessly. Floyd looked at each of them and to their beasts, he could see a disappointment apparent on their face. He took a deep breath and then challenged, then, Captain, how about a duel with me? Beast for beast, one-on-one. Upon hearing this, everyone was taken aback, their eyes lighting up with excitement. Was this going to be a beast battle? Chen Yu lifted his eyebrows and considered for a moment before shaking his head. Youngest, I'm not a fool. I know you're strong. Captain, I'm not finished yet, Floyd announced, his eyes glittering with a fusion of anticipation and determination. I propose a battle, a duel of sorts. Each of you, against one of my beasts. Taking a moment to allow his words to resonate in the tension-thick air, Floyd continued, his smile never wavering, if you win, I'll give you a bottle of healing powder for each one of you. However, if I win, he paused, his gaze sweeping across the apprehensive faces, then I request nothing but the release of your beast. Rest assured, I hold no intention to claim it for myself. It will remain entirely under your possession. Fair, don't you agree? His smile turned into a teasing smirk as he concluded, the odds certainly favor you, providing a win-win situation, right? Chapter 64, Chen Yu vs Floyd. Hearing Floyd's words, Chen Yu raised his eyebrows, looking at him. You mean all of us against your one Pokémon? Yes, Floyd nodded. Chen Yu tried to discern Floyd's intentions. He couldn't believe Floyd was doing this solely for the beasts. He suspected another motive. In a one-on-one match, Chen Yu might hesitate. However, with many on his side, he felt confident, doubting that Floyd could be as powerful as Kenriku. This wasn't a team battle, where dozens of moves could be employed to counter the opponent. It was a simple one-on-one. Even if Chen Yu lost, others could develop counter-strategies. Moreover, the allure of the healing powder reward was tempting. He knew of its capabilities, especially in emergencies where it could be life-saving. Currently, only Floyd could produce this powder, something even Kenriku couldn't achieve. Are you sure about what you're saying right now? Rewarding us a healing powder if we win. Chen Yu sought confirmation. Yes, Floyd nodded. But he was not entirely truthful. His supply of healing powder was limited, having been used on injured Pokémon previously. He would need to wait a few days for a fresh batch. Still, he felt certain about defeating them with his Pokémon, perhaps with the exception of Munchlax. However, he doubted they'd choose Munchlax due to its size, and even if they did, Floyd believed he could strategize accordingly. What do you think? Chen Yu turned to his companions. Let's do it. I'm curious about how he will fight so many of us, Li Mylin expressed her thoughts. Well, even if we lose, I think putting out an iron ring is not a big deal, Kang Jihun, who previously hesitated about using his beasts like Floyd did, had been swayed by the challenge. The fear of beasts was still present, but Floyd's provocation stirred something in him. Whether we win or lose, it's not really a big deal, Kang Jihun added. Others, lured by the promise of the reward, seemed to share the sentiment that removing the iron ring was inconsequential. I see, then don't regret losing so much this time, Chen Yu remarked coldly. He found it hard to believe that Floyd, with his diminutive Pokémon, could defeat everyone present, with the size of his Pokémon which was not even comparable to Kenriku's Blastoise's size. Then who will go first? Floyd asked with a smile. Since I'm here, I'll go, Chen Yu volunteered, aiming to identify any vulnerabilities in Floyd's Pokémon for others to observe. Then who will you choose? Floyd inquired, pointing to each of his Pokémon. Chen Yu pondered. Munchlax, due to its size and audible heavy footsteps, was immediately ruled out. His gaze shifted between Axew, Horsa, Dratini, and Gumi. None seemed particularly formidable, they all looked cute. However, Dratini caught his attention. He recalled a conversation between Kenriku and Floyd mentioning this serpent Pokémon as being only 3 weeks old, making it the youngest. Yet, Chen Yu hesitated, noting the eager glint of excitement in Dratini's eyes. Then he observed Horsa, who stared back at him, seemingly warning him not to choose her. From Chen Yu's perspective, however, she looked adorable, as if she were pleading with him not to pick her. His gaze then shifted to Gumi. In his opinion, this creature appeared to be the weakest due to its diminutive size and lack of intimidating features. As for Axu, he decided against choosing it. Axu's expression mirrored Dratini's earlier enthusiasm for battle. Moreover, Axu's features seemed the most fierce among them, even if they all appeared quite endearing. Now, he was torn between selecting Horsa or Gumi. After a moment of contemplation, he took a deep breath and pointed towards Gumi. "I'll choose the smallest one." Upon hearing Chen Yu's choice, Floyd's smile broadened. This particular Gumi might not have been well trained, but Floyd knew its strength. It was already at level 17. After the recent battle, all of his Pokémon had leveled up except for Axu. Floyd sensed that Axu was on the brink of leveling up soon, and his points had soared back to over 8,000. Moreover, Gumi had recently acquired the skill Dragon Breath. This might have been a result of its diet combined with Floyd's dragon power, awakening this dragon move. Notably, Gumi also had 2 intermediate moves under its belt, showing that its previous owner had put effort into training it with water moves and bubble. "I see, then it's Gum," Floyd started to say but was cut off by Chen Yu. "I've changed my mind. I want to fight that seahorse-looking creature." Chen's decision shifted upon seeing Floyd's sly smile. He wondered if there was more to the Pokémon than met the eye and decided it was best not to judge solely based on appearances. Inside, Floyd chuckled, thinking Chen Yu was overanalyzing the situation. "All right, young lad, it's your turn," Floyd said, addressing Horsa. Horsa glared at Chen Yu. She had assumed Gumi would be the chosen opponent, and Chen Yu's last-minute switch to select her irked her greatly. She was furious, contemplating ways to teach him a lesson. "If you win this, I will increase your reward food. You've earned quite a few rewards already, haven't you?" Floyd said, trying to appease the visibly upset Horsa with promises of additional treats. Floyd's words had their intended effect. Horsa, feeling both placated and motivated, eagerly entered the battle. Floyd was content. He viewed Horsa as his second strongest Pokémon, second only to Axu. He marveled at how deceiving appearances could be and felt a sense of satisfaction at how he'd used reverse psychology on Chen Yu. "All right, bring out your beast," Floyd directed. "Growlithe, step forward," Chen Yu commanded. Growlithe reluctantly approached the battlefront. He wavered, having heard that if they lost, he would be set free. This stirred a thought in him: what if he intentionally lost? However, Chen Yu caught onto his hesitation, warning, "Don't even think about faking a loss. If I detect any such attempt, even if we lose, I won't remove your ring. Remember my words." Growlithe's spirit waned upon hearing this threat, but Floyd's voice reassured him. "Little guy, don't worry. Just do your best. I've got this." Chapter 65, Horsa vs Growlithes. "Are we gonna start?" Chen Yu asked. "I will throw a coin. Once it touches the ground, the battle will start," Floyd said, taking out a coin from his pouch. "I see. Did you hear that?" Chen Yu nodded at Growlithe, who also nodded in response. "I see, I will start now," Floyd declared, throwing the coin into the air. As soon as everyone saw the coin, their focus shifted to the impending battle, filling their hearts with excitement and anticipation. With the sound of pong reverberating through the air as the coin landed, Chen Yu shouted, "Go! Horsa, smokescreen!" Floyd commanded immediately. In response, Horsa released a cloud of black smoke around itself, blinding Growlithe. "Hide and do it!" Floyd instructed Horsa, who then moved a few meters away from its previous position and started a dragon dance. Frustrated, Chen Yu yelled in his native language, "Growlithe, what the hell are you doing? Find it!" Growlithe, despite being blinded, rushed to Horsa's previous position but found her missing. Not long after, Growlithe sensed strong wind from one side and rushed at it, finding Horsa spinning there. Growlithe shot forward to attack, but Horsa, having completed her move, dodged swiftly. Horsa, use water gun, Floyd commanded. Horsa nodded and did as instructed, hitting Growlithe with a powerful stream of water. Unable to dodge, Growlithe screamed in pain as he writhed on the ground. Growlithe, will you really forget my words? If you fake losing, even if we lose, I'll never let you free, Chen Yu threatened. In response to Chen Yu's threat, Growlithe, despite being in extreme pain, gritted his teeth, stood up and charged at Horsa. Remained calm, Floyd instructed, Horsa, use tackle. Benefiting from the dragon dance, Horsa's physical attack and speed had greatly increased. Before Growlithe could react, he was hit and sent flying backward. In a daze, Growlithe swayed back and forth before falling unconscious. Chen Yu, who had been watching from afar, stood dumbfounded. He felt that their battle had been overly short and was perplexed by their instant defeat. Growlithe, stop pretending. Stand up. Do you think you can trick me with your acting? Stand up. Chen Yu yelled, but received no response. Do you remember what I said before? If you start pretending, even if we lose here, I will not let go of the iron ring that binds your neck, Chen Yu added. It's useless, Captain. He's already defeated. Kanraku uttered, shaking his head. He explained that the battle's advantage had been with Floyd from the beginning, considering that his opponent, Growlithe, was a fire and rock-type Pokémon, which is 4 times weaker than water. In addition to Horsa's dragon dance buff and tackle. Sadly, Chen Yu was unaware of this fact. He hadn't commanded his Pokémon properly, just letting Growlithe enter the battle and doing nothing but threatening him, and lastly, it was obvious that he had not formed a bond with him, thus Growlithe's will to fight for him was not robust as he expected. The defeat, therefore, was inevitable. It's impossible, I can't accept it. How could Growlithe have been defeated so quickly? Chen Yu gasped, rushing toward his defeated Pokémon. Wake up! Have my words fallen on deaf ears? Stop pretending! I meant every word I said, I swear, even if we lose, I would not keep the promise. A deathly silence enveloped the spectators. The outcome had been swift and unforeseen, sparking whispers of suspicion. They too suspected Growlithe might be feigning defeat. Kanraku, distancing himself from the commotion, moved closer to inspect Growlithe's physical state, checking its eyes, mouth, etc. To his surprise, Growlithe was truly unconscious. He isn't responding to your threats anymore, Chen Yu. Growlithe is genuinely knocked out. You've lost, said Kanraku, sighing and shaking his head in utter disbelief. This is impossible. How could it be? Chen Yu stammered, struggling to comprehend the reality before him. Captain, allow me to step in, interjected a chilly female voice. Chen Yu turned to find himself facing the striking Li Qin, with her companion, a female Growlithe, by her side. The female Growlithe gaze shifted from its unconscious comrade to Horsa, simmering with barely contained outrage. I want to find out if this seahorse is as strong as she demonstrated earlier, or if it was just a fluke, Li Qin said as she observed Horsa cautiously. I'll carry this little guy for now, Kanraku said, then picked up Growlithe. Youngest, I'd like to be your opponent, Li Qin challenged Floyd. Floyd, look on this woman. She exuded an aura of royal sister, and she was undeniably attractive. However, Floyd didn't give much thought to her as the age gap between them was significant. He simply smiled and replied, sure, let's go. With an air of finality, Floyd tossed the coin into the air again. Pong! Upon its landing, Li Qin called, Growlithe, be cautious. Air. Smokescreen, continued Floyd, relying on the dragon dance's lingering effect. Horsa obeyed, blanketing the surroundings with dense, black smoke. Growlithe, retreat. Maintain distance from the smoke, Li Qin shouted. Awer, followed Growlithe, retreating to stand before Li Qin, all the while eyeing the shroud of smoke warily. Floyd's eyes widened. How unexpected, this woman can actually command, he thought. However, he knew this was not enough. Horsa, use water gun! Shouted Floyd. Horsa fired a powerful stream of water. Dodge it, Growlithe! Li Qin warned her Pokémon, aware of the impending attack. Growlithe made an effort to evade but ended up being hit by Horsa's perfectly aimed water gun. Although Horsa has always been lazy, her proficiency in using water gun was only behind Dragon Dance and her exceptional accuracy was good, although she's weak in close combat, rendering Growlithe's attempts at evasion futile. As Growlithe screeched in pain, an unfamiliar fury stirred within her. Involuntarily, she retaliated with an ember attack. Unperturbed by the unexpected reaction, Floyd commanded, Horsa, respond with water gun. Horsa promptly obeyed, resulting in a mid-air collision of ember and water gun. Horsa's water gun, superior in strength, prevailed and ended up striking Growlithe, who was hurled backward and, ultimately, lost consciousness. Li Qin's Growlithe, too, like Chen Yu, had lost. Chapter 66, Floyd vs Le Mylin. The same result unfolded, Growlithe was lost. Seeing the outcome, everyone took a deep breath. Even now, they felt inexplicable. I really don't understand why it ended so quickly. Chen Xin, struggling with disbelief, remarked as he couldn't bear to watch his elder brother and Li Qin lose in such a short span. What makes Floyd so formidable? Swablu, on the other hand, was flying cheerfully upon witnessing her boss's victory. She was Horsa's most ardent supporter. Meanwhile, Bianca was having trouble catching the mischievous bird in front of everyone, which was becoming rather embarrassing. Kanraku returned and expressed his surprise at seeing Growlithe's loss. Why did it end so quickly? He rushed towards Floyd, demanding, Floyd, what happened? I was gone for only a few seconds and you won? Please tell me you didn't cheat, right? I didn't, Floyd replied. Why did it end so fast? Kanraku pressed further. Because I'm just that good, Floyd teased. Kanraku wasn't having it, enough with the games. Explain. Li Qin, suddenly making his presence known, interjected, I'd like to know as well. Floyd calmly explained, it's simple. Fire is weak against water. Didn't I tell you this before? Everyone paused. They did remember Floyd mentioning it. Pointing to the unconscious Growlithe, Floyd elaborated, I knew that Growlithe was a fire-type Pokémon. What he didn't mention was that Growlithe was also a rock Pokémon. Chen Yu, upon realizing the oversight, mentally chastised himself for forgetting such a crucial detail. He then directed a mix of remorse and frustration towards Floyd. This young man seemed approachable and friendly, but Chen Yu began to see a more cunning side. Li Qin spoke up, it's not only about water being stronger than fire. It's also about your connection with your Pokémon. Smiling, Floyd responded, that's the essence of being a trainer. You must know your Pokémon intimately, their abilities, their means of communication. Even if you can't understand their words, their actions and gestures are quite telling. Open your heart to them, and they will be your truest allies. Kanraku, reflecting on his own bond with his Pokémon, nodded in agreement, you're absolutely right. However, their moment of camaraderie was interrupted by Kong Chihun, Floyd, I'm up next. He had his strategy all planned out, knowing well that his Pokémon was of the electric type. But before he could make his move, Le Mylin intervened, I want to go first. Kong Chihun, confused by her abrupt change of plans, asked, Le Mylin, what are you implying? Without hesitation, Le Mylin asserted, I want to battle now. She then turned to Floyd, prepare your strongest Pokémon. How about taking on my Mankey and Tyrogue? Kong Chihun's frustration was evident, wait, why are you changing the order? Floyd's Pokémon is nearly exhausted, and mine is electric type. If we change our strategy now, wouldn't Chen Yu's and Li Qin's efforts go in vain? Le Milin responded dismissively, it's not my concern. I'm here to fight. Chen Yu, sensing something amiss, accused, Le Milin, are you helping Floyd intentionally? Indeed, Chen Yu was onto something. Le Milin had her own motives, doubting whether Floyd alone could overcome them all. But even if Floyd was aware of this, he would only be indifferent. Silently, he empowered Horsa with dragon power and handed it a poke block. Floyd's strategy was clear: as long as Horsa dodged the opponent's attacks, and hit the enemies, she would remain unscathed. What do you mean helping? I genuinely want to fight, Le Milin retorted as she released the 2 iron rings from her Pokémon's necks. This action caught everyone off guard. Are you insane? Kang Jihun exclaimed, stepping back apprehensively. Le Milin, with confidence radiating from her, turned to her 2 Pokémon, then released their iron rings that binds them, and asked, how about fighting alongside me? Mankey and Tyrogue were taken aback that their trainer would release them so freely. Their eyes shimmered with gratitude and respect for her. In response, they let out determined cries and signaled their readiness. They were set on putting up a stellar performance for their master. Seeing her Pokémon's spirited reactions, Le Milin felt a surge of emotions. Perhaps, she pondered, this truly is the essence of being a trainer. Turning to Floyd, she challenged, look at my beasts, all riled up. How about a 2v2 battle? Choose your 2 strongest contenders. Floyd, taken aback by her audacity but touched by the evident bond she shared with her Pokémon, was about to call out, Axew, come forth. But before he could finish, Dratini had already slithered into the battleground. Floyd sighed, Dratini, when did I summon you? Ehu. Dratini seemed to argue, clearly eager to fight. Seeing Dratini's determination, Floyd relented, all right. He had initially planned for Axew to single-handedly take on both opponents, but Dratini's unexpected enthusiasm had shifted the dynamics. Let's get this started, Floyd declared. Kenraku sighed, I'll take this one to Chansey for care, as he hoisted another injured Growlithe. Moments later, Axew and Dratini faced off against Mankey and Tyrogue. However, Axew seemed content to stay in the background, letting Dratini lead. Le Milin raised an eyebrow, are you trying for a 1v2? Floyd merely smiled, let's see what my beast can do. Le Milin huffed, you're underestimating my beasts. You'll regret this. With a swift motion, Floyd tossed a coin into the air. As it clinked onto the ground, Mankey and Tyrogue lunged at Dratini. Dratini, use Twister. Floyd ordered. The powerful gust forced both Mankey and Tyrogue to retreat. Separate and then attack. Le Milin commanded. Both Pokémon heeded her instructions, positioning themselves to flank Dratini. Floyd responded swiftly, Dratini, unleash Thunder Wave on Tyrogue, then use Extreme Speed. Dratini paralyzed Tyrogue with Thunder Wave before darting forward with incredible speed. With Mankey and Tyrogue on either side, the path was clear. The electrifying attack left Tyrogue immobilized, and Dratini dodged an incoming attack from Mankey. Twister again! Commanded Floyd. Yet again, Mankey was repelled by the gusts. Now, Extreme Speed! Floyd's voice rang out. Mankey, although partially deflecting the attack, was taken aback by the sheer speed. In retaliation, Mankey launched into a flurry of swipes. Floyd's counter was immediate, Dratini, use Wrap to grasp its arm. Dratini's tail coiled around Mankey's arm, and with a forceful tug, sent Mankey flying. Dragon Breath! Floyd's voice echoed. The powerful move left Mankey severely weakened. But before Floyd could strategize further, Tyrogue, having recovered from paralysis, landed a strong punch on Dratini, sending it sprawling. But the battle was far from over. Mankey's eyes gleamed with a fiery rage. Tyrogue's ability, Guts, activated. Similarly, Mankey's ability, Anger Point, was triggered. Chapter 67, How to Win Reverse Attribute Battle, Bonus Chapter Reward. With a commanding tone, Floyd directed, Dratini, use extreme speed dodge it. In an instant, Dratini vanished, deftly avoiding the synchronized attack from both Mankey and Tyrogue. Axew! Floyd's shout pierced the air. Suddenly, the ground rumbled beneath Mankey and Tyrogue's feet, and from the shadows, Axew emerged, catching them completely unawares. Breaking swipe! Floyd's voice resonated. With a swift motion, Axew struck both foes with his tail. Not missing a beat, Floyd added, Twister. Dratini, leveraging his tail's power, summoned a fierce twister aimed straight at them. Before Mankey and Tyrogue could regain their composure from Axew's surprise attack, the looming twister threatened to engulf them. In a surprising twist of events, Tyrogue valiantly threw himself into the path of the twister, effectively shielding Mankey and getting thrown off in the process. This sacrificial move allowed Mankey, now imbued with the Anger Point ability, to launch a furious series of fury swipes at Axew. Axew, use Claw! Floyd instructed with urgency. Axew's hands ignited with the radiant energy of Dragon Claw. As the two forces met, Axew parried Mankey's first swipe with his right hand. Then, he seamlessly transitioned to block another attack with his left, completely nullifying Mankey's assault. Losing both momentum and balance, Mankey's fury swipes were abruptly halted. Seizing this brief window, Floyd commanded, Breaking Swipe. There was a resounding bang, and Mankey lay motionless, defeated. Axew, though triumphant, was quickly targeted by Tyrogue's rapid spin. Barely managing to defend himself, Axew was caught off guard. Without a second's delay, Floyd called out, Dratini, extreme speed. Responding instantly, Dratini surged towards Tyrogue. A loud bang echoed as Axew was repelled by Tyrogue's onslaught. Almost immediately, Tyrogue was met with Dratini's counter-attack and succumbed to unconsciousness. Author's note: I would like to explain that in this scenario, Mankey's Anger Point ability merely amplifies his attack by one stage. This is because he has yet to master the full potential of this ability. A similar instance happened with a previous young Gyarados that lost control when attempting to execute Dragon Dance twice. Additionally, Mankey's foundational training is inadequate, particularly in harnessing his ability effectively. If not for these limitations, an enhancement of 2 stages could have been feasible. Then he used a normal move, Fury Swipes against a higher level Axew, who used stab move, Dragon Claw. The sight of this intense battle left Kenriku applauding in sheer appreciation. Despite having attended to an injured Growlithe and entrusting it to Chansey's care, he arrived just in time to witness the riveting showdown. Following Kenriku's lead, the gathered crowd erupted into applause, astonished and enthralled by Floyd's tactical prowess. Axew struggled to remain upright, visibly fatigued and still bearing remnants of injury from the previous fights with Firo. Even with the help of Floyd's powder, Dragon Power, Poke Block, and Chansey's healing, the consecutive battles against Mankey and Tyrogue exacerbated his injuries. Similarly, Dratini bore the brunt of Tyrogue's attack due to his lower combat level. In a moment of tender concern, Floyd caressed their heads and nourished them with a poke block. Observing his injured companions, Floyd remarked pensively, "I believe training will have to be postponed." Before Dratini could protest, Floyd gently added, "Rest now and reflect on the lessons of today." Turning to Le Lin, Floyd acknowledged, "Sister Lin, I must admit, your beasts are strong. They genuinely took me by surprise." He contemplated their strength, surmising that if there was a level to gauge their prowess, they would likely be ranked between 17 and 19, especially Tyrogue, who seemed on the cusp of evolution. Le Lin, slightly exasperated, retorted with sarcasm, "Strong? When you all beat mine." Floyd countered gracefully, "That's because we're always training, it's different compared to yours. She shot back, slightly vexed, I've also trained mine rigorously in martial arts, yet they were defeated by yours. Attempting to placate her, Floyd said, Sister Lin, in the absence of your commands, you almost defeat me. Your beasts were indeed strong. Almost defeat your ass, youngest, there's no need for flattery. I am well aware of the capabilities of my beasts in comparison to yours, Mai Lin responded, dismissing his commendations, aware of the stark difference in their beasts' prowess. She then sighed, reflecting, regardless, this bout was enlightening. Kenraku, with a keen observation, interjected, Floyd, it seemed you were really knowledgeable about specific beast moves. I've seen your commands in action. Perhaps we should categorize moves by type. But first, we need to prove it if it was true, but I know since it comes from your mouth, then it's mostly true, ha ha ha, he chuckled, adding a touch of levity to the atmosphere. Recognizing the importance of such an endeavor, Floyd agreed, I agree. Suddenly, an assertive voice interrupted, Floyd, I challenge you. It was Kang Jihun, who confidently declared his intent to battle. Anticipating his choice, Floyd inquired, whom do you wish to face? I choose to combat that seahorse, Kang Jihun proclaimed confidently, positioning himself on the battleground with his Illichid. Given the type advantage with my beast, I don't believe I will not win against you. Anyway, prepare your healing powder. Floyd, analyzing the situation, recognized that despite the water type's vulnerability to electric moves, the electric type had no inherent resistance against water. Thus, horses still stood a chance against Illichid, given the right strategy. This would be an opportunity to display the intricacies of reverse attribute battles. The challenge commenced. A coin was thrown, signaling the start. Horsa, quickly move to your left. Floyd directed. Almost simultaneously, Kang Jihun ordered, Electric Beast, unleash your most strongest electric attack. As expected, Floyd had already considered it because he knew they could penetrate his smokescreen. No move would succeed multiple times, otherwise, they would be foolish to repeat the same mistake. Floyd had predicted this scenario because he had been cautious, especially regarding the electric type that could counter Horsa. It's a good thing he made that prediction. Horsa, deploy smokescreen. As commanded, a dense, black cloud engulfed the field. Kang Jihun, wary of this development, cautioned, stay alert, and refrain from venturing into the smog. Illichid, heeding the advice, kept its distance. Witnessing this, Floyd smiled and signaled his next move. The immediate reaction from Kang Jihun was a stark reminder to Illichid, stay vigilant. They're going to attack. Yet, as moments passed, the expected attack never materialized. Floyd's cryptic smile revealed a ruse. The interval had been exploited to rejuvenate Horse's dragon dance. Realizing Floyd's reaction, Kang Jihun scolded himself, and urgently instructed, we've been fooled, Electric Beast, go to the smog, locate Horsa, and release your strongest electric barrage. Then Illichid rushes to the smog. Come out, use water gun. Instructed by Floyd. Without hesitation, Horsa emerged, launching a precise water gun at Illichid, who, caught off guard, couldn't retaliate in time and stepped back in pain. Smokescreen. Floyd, seizing the momentum, executed another smokescreen. Illichid, disoriented, found himself bombarded once again by Horse's water gun, vocalizing its distress. Kang Jihun, his frustration evident, exclaimed, youngest, you're scoundrel, is this how you engage in combat? Floyd responded, maintaining his composure, Vice Captain, this was called strategy. It is a testament to the art of battle. Being disadvantaged, would I merely allow your beast to overpower mine? A speechless Kang Jihun, begrudgingly, instructed Illichid to unleash its electric might indiscriminately. However, Illichid's efforts proved futile, failing to find its mark amidst the smog. To add insult to injury, another water gun attack sent Illichid reeling. Determined, Kang Jihun encouraged, "Rise, electric beast." But Floyd, seeing the opportunity to end the battle, commanded, "Horsa, deliver the final blow tackle." Empowered by Dragon Dance, Horsa's tackle was devastating. Illichid succumbed, losing consciousness. Chapter 68, Won the Bet. Seeing his Illichid lose the battle, Kang Jihun couldn't believe it and looked at Floyd, scolding, "Youngest, you said electric suppressed water, are you kidding me?" "I'm telling the truth, electric suppresses water." Floyd opened his arms and sighed helplessly. "Then, earlier, how?" Kang Jihun didn't understand why his beast lost. "Well, I ask you, did you manage to hit my beast?" Floyd asked. Thinking about the earlier battle, Kang Jihun suddenly remembered, "It seemed none. Although your beast suppressed the attribute of my beast, if your beast can't hit mine, then what's the point?" Floyd said. Kang Jihun's eyes lit up, and then he smiled bitterly, "No wonder, now I know. Who would have thought battling with the beast was complicated? Even if you can suppress other types, if you are not careful, you will also lose." His voice became excited in thrill. He didn't expect there to be systematic knowledge of the beast. Earlier he didn't even know anything about the types of beasts, but now, he already knows water suppresses fire, lightning suppresses water, and that black smoke, he needs to be careful with that. There were countless strategies he needed to think of. He suddenly wanted to battle again, but seeing the unconscious Illichid, he contemplated a bit, and in a few moments, he released the iron ring from it. Everyone was surprised. "You too?" Chen Yu looked at Kang Jihun and asked. "Yeah," Kang Jihun nodded, then he looked at Floyd and smiled. "Youngest, I learned a lot today, and honestly, I want to know more about the moves, type restraint, poke block, and training. This really opened my mind to unknown unique possibilities. I suddenly understood a bit that if I wanted to be that so-called trainer I needed to understand them a lot. If I forever bind them with these iron rings, then how could they willingly open their hearts for me? I don't know if this risk was worth it, but seeing you with your beasts and the professor, I wanted to bet. I wanted to bet that the path you both take is right. Because I feel, it's so exciting." You could see the excitement in Kang Jihun's eyes. For how long did he last feel excitement like this? Maybe, when the beasts didn't appear before, because, in more than 5 years that the beasts have been here, he has lived in fear and caution. And now, seeing the other possibility, he really couldn't hide his excitement after that battle. "Floyd, I really want to fight you again," Kang Jihun added with hope in his eyes as he looked at Floyd. "For sure, I also know your beasts, I know that beast, it's called Illichid. I can give you suggestions for your training." Floyd was really happy that it seemed one by one were putting their prejudices aside regarding Pokémon. "Really, youngest, thank you very much," Kang Jihun said happily. "If you don't call me youngest, I would be happier." Floyd sighed helplessly at his nickname. "There's no way, you are the youngest." Kang Jihun rejected his proposal teasingly as he approached Illichid. "Oh, the battle finished. Who won?" "Oh, it's Floyd." "Well, it's nothing new." Kanraku, who suddenly appeared after giving Mankey and Tyrogue to Chansey, saw the battle and he already expected the result. "Okay, let me carry it, et." He was about to carry Illichid when Kang Jihun stopped him with his hand. "Let me carry him this time." Kang Jihun gathered his courage and carried him, then he was shocked by its weight. It's heavy. "Would you want me to help you?" Kanraku asked. "No. I will carry it." "Where's the clinic?" Kang Jihun asked Kanraku as his veins started to appear while carrying Illichid. "Over there, you can go there." Kanraku pointed to the location. Then, seeing his Illichid, he was surprised. "Whoa, Kang-san, you actually took the iron ring off your beast?" Didonti asked. "I'll go," Kang Jihun said, struggling to speak as he carried the hefty Illichid. He moved slowly towards the clinic. Who's next? Floyd asked, scanning the crowd. Me, Choi Yurine responded. Floyd recognized her as another beauty from Joe, and he had heard gossips about her having a crush on Kang Ji-hun. Observing the Meowth behind her, he inquired, "You want to fight with that?" "Yes, why?" "Don't dare underestimate me. I'll take revenge with Appa," Choi Yurine asserted. "Well, okay, whom do you want to fight against?" Floyd probed. Choi Yurine assessed her options. Horses seemed strong, and she couldn't tell if it was tired. Axu, despite being injured, looked fierce, as did Dratini. She finally settled on the smallest of them all, saying, "I want to fight that slimy beast." Hearing her choice, Floyd smiled, "Okay. Gumi, it's your turn." Gumi's eyes lit up with anticipation. He had watched Axu, Horsa, and Dratini fight and had longed for his turn. Having been shielded in the earlier battles against Firo and Spear, he hadn't faced any injuries, and thus, any real thrill. Now, with the support of the other Gummis cheering him on, he was determined to win against Meowth. Floyd initiated the battle by throwing a coin. Pong! "Let's go, Meowth, attack!" Choi Yurine commanded. "Gumi, use bubble!" Floyd counter-commanded. As Meowth charged towards Gumi, she was barraged by bubbles, which caused her pain and disrupted her focus. Seizing the opportunity, Floyd shouted, "Gumi, water gun!" The attack connected, sending Meowth hurtling into a tree, knocking her out unconscious. Floyd. Gumi. Choi Yurine. Everyone. Lost already? Why it's so fast? Even Gumi, who has high expectations with the battle, became speechless. A stunned silence enveloped the area. The rapid conclusion of the match had caught everyone off guard. Gumi, despite not having much time to savor the battle, emerged victorious. "Kitty, are you okay? Can you stand?" Choi Yurine, red-faced, rushed to her Meowth. "Sister, you lost," Floyd commented with a tinge of sympathy. "I see. I'll head to the clinic," Choi Yurine said, scooping up Meowth and hastily retreating to clinic. She was extremely embarrassed to stay here. Kanraku, still in disbelief, asked Floyd, "Do you have any normal beasts? All yours seem so powerful." "Well, they're all normal, right?" Floyd responded with a grin. Le Mylin interjected, "You claim they're normal, yet they've bested all of ours. If you truly seek a normal one, then this guy should fit the bill." His name was Munchlax, Floyd introduced, pointing to the munching Pokémon. Munchlax, hearing Floyd call his name, he greeted everyone upon hearing its name. The group exchanged dubious looks. Seeing how heavy and big it is, they weren't convinced that Munchlax was any more normal than the others. A man named Ngim Min Tuan from Rongzane stepped forward. "Let me be the next challenger." He selected the injured Dratini as his opponent. Another coin was tossed by Floyd. Pong! Within seconds, Ngim's Poliwag was knocked unconscious by Dratini's extreme speed. The audience was dumbstruck, and a few hesitated to challenge Floyd afterward. After a few minutes of seeing no one challenging him, Floyd reminded them, "Don't forget the bet." Chapter 69, Takes Grolive. A few hours later, Floyd had explained the basic fundamentals of being a trainer. He had discussed how to strategically engage with opponents and the importance of understanding a Pokémon's moves. He also explained how each type opposes another. There were some Pokémon whose types were unknown. For example, what type was Le Mylin's Pokémon? Le Mylin kept asking him, but Floyd couldn't provide an explanation without some basis. Water, air, fire, grass, and lightning types he could explain, as they are fundamental parts of nature. But the fighting type was a bit more complicated, so for now, Floyd suggested that these Pokémon should be temporarily classified as the normal type. Kanraku agreed that these unidentified Pokémon should be temporarily classified as the normal type. Then, after the discussion outside, they all departed. Kanraku had previously announced that they could rest this morning and return in the afternoon, so he couldn't retract it now. Everyone then left. Kanraku also mentioned there was already a prototype of Floyd's berry blender, surprising Floyd with how fast they made it. With everyone gone, Floyd turned to Axu and said, "Look at your brother, just relax for now, you still have an injury." Axu nodded and then looked at Dratini as if saying, "Master already said it." Dratini just pouted and remained silent. Floyd then fed each of his Pokémon. He even offered Horsa extra food, patting her head and saying, "You've really done well this time, so I'll reward you." "Horsa!" Horsa exclaimed, overjoyed at the generous portion. "But you must still train after you eat, okay?" Floyd added with a smile. Horsa's joy seemed to wane. "Horsa! Master, you said we won't train today." "That's only for Axu and Dratini, they had a hard day," Floyd replied. "Horsa! But I also fought a lot, look at my tail, it has a bruise." Checking her tail and finding no bruise, Floyd said, "Where's the bruise?" "I don't see anything." "Horsa! It's there. You just can't see it." Acknowledging her determination and her performance in the battle, Floyd conceded and decided to give her a break. Next, he checked Gumi and Munchlax. Finding no injuries on them, he initiated a mild training session after feeding them. Floyd then placed his dried berries in a sunny spot, assigning 8 Rattata the task of guarding them. In return, he promised them extra food. He sat on the large stone and removed the bandage from his chest. The wound had already healed due to the healing powder and Chansey's care. This injury had occurred when Firo attacked him. Had he not held back her beak with his robust physique, he might have been fatally pierced by her attack. Seeing his Pokémon level up, all except for Axu, Floyd realized the experience had been beneficial. Still, he hoped not to face such a situation again, recognizing that he couldn't always rely on the chance that every Pokémon would come to his aid. After removing the bandage, he returned to the clinic to reward Chansey with food. He had nearly forgotten due to the earlier events, so he entered in haste. Seeing Chansey there, healing some Pokémon, Floyd looked and saw 2 Growlithes. He recognized them as Chen Yu and Li Qin's Growlithe. The surprising thing was that these Growlithes had no iron rings on their necks. It seemed they had truly kept their promise. Similar to other Pokémon he had fought earlier, they also lacked iron rings, confirming they were the ones he had encountered. He then happened to spot the 4 Growlithe that had assisted him. Approaching them, he patted their heads. But upon further inspection, he didn't find the other Growlithe. "Chansey!" He then heard Chansey's voice behind him. Turning, he saw both Chansey and Happiny. "Oh, Chansey, this is for you. It's your favorite." "Thank you for helping us," he said, acknowledging her weary expression, understanding the hard work she had put in. Floyd felt sympathy, no one could assist her at the moment. If only the little Happiny with her would grow up soon, then Chansey could have an assistant. "Happy New York," Happiny greeted, her eyes fixated on the bag of food Floyd held. "I know you want some, here's yours." Floyd handed her a smaller bag of food. Both Chansey and Happiny gratefully accepted their rewards. "This is for them, they helped me considerably this time," Floyd said, producing a considerably larger bag of food and pointing to the Pokémon that had assisted him earlier. Chansey accepted the food with a thankful expression. Despite the fact that Floyd's Pokémon often got injured and required her care, she recognized that he genuinely cared for them. He always ensured they were rewarded for their help, which left a positive impression on her. "By the way, Chansey, where's Growlithe? The one who always follows you?" Floyd inquired. At the mention of Growlithe, Chansey reacted animatedly, as she angrily stomped her feet, resembling a mother upset with a mischievous child. Although Floyd didn't quite grasp what she conveyed, it was evident that Growlithe had been up to something mischievous. After further inquiry, Floyd came to understand that Growlithe wanted to assert his independence and didn't want to rely on Chansey any longer. Floyd, amused by this revelation, chose not to share his insight with Chansey to avoid getting implicated in the mischief. After bidding Chansey farewell, Floyd headed towards the training ground near the beast's sanctuary to check on Gumi and Munchlax. En route, he noticed an unusual silhouette near a tree. Approaching quietly, he identified it as Growlithe. Curious about what the Pokémon was up to, he discreetly observed from behind another tree. He watched as Growlithe alternated between eating leaves and mimicking Gumi's actions. Amused, Floyd decided to reveal his presence. "Aver!" Growlithe exclaimed in surprise, and, upon seeing Floyd, seemed embarrassed and tried to flee. However, Floyd caught him and said, "Come on, how about training with us?" On his game panel, he promptly spent 1,000 points to acquire Growlithe's breeding method. Noting Growlithe's proficiency with the move Outrage, despite not fully mastering it, Floyd classified Growlithe under the third priority in the game panel. He had taken a fancy in this Pokémon, especially due to the Outrage move. Floyd was determined that this Growlithe was meant to be his Pokémon. Chapter 70, Growlithes joined the team. First and foremost, I want to extend my heartfelt thanks and apologies to those who supported me on Patreon. I genuinely didn't anticipate receiving such support on that platform, to the point where I had stopped updating it. This lapse on my part, especially when you had paid, and I didn't update it, truly embarrasses me. If you're reading this, please know that I've updated the platform with an additional 12 chapters, ensuring you receive the tier benefits you deserve. Your support means more to me than words can express, and it has reinvigorated my motivation to write. Thank you once again. Here, you will train with us. Don't you want to train? Come with me, I'll guide you, Floyd urged him. Growlithe seemed embarrassed and hesitated. Then, many Gumis and Munchlax approached him, looking at him with admiration and gratitude for what he had done earlier. Gumi, thank you so much, brother dog. Gu, train with us, brother dog. Munchlax, I'll share some with you, brother dog. Gumi, I'll also share some. Munchlax and Gumi offered him a portion of their food. Growlithe tasted Munchlax's share and found it palatable, similar to what Floyd had given to the other Pokémon. Then he tried Gumi's food. Some he liked, some he found okay, and some he didn't care for. However, he ate it all so as not to disappoint them. Gumi, Munchlax, don't give him your portions. They're not suitable for him. Come here, young lad. Wait for me, I'll prepare something appropriate for you, Floyd said as he took out his berry blender and gathered cherry, watmel, ilan, and blueberries from his backpack. Floyd hesitated for a moment. The ideal choice would have been watmel and ilan, combining the fire type and normal type. However, the intense sweetness of these berries was too overwhelming. Even the ilan, with its robust sweet and spicy flavor, was a bit much for Growlithe. So, Floyd decided on ilan and blueberry instead. The latter had a subtle blend of dryness, sweetness, and was suitable for a fire type. Floyd's understanding of Growlithe's taste preferences came from knowing him for several days. Using Growlithe's breeding method, he had come to recognize Growlithe's flavor preferences. Floyd chose not to include dragon-type berries because most of their flavors didn't align with Growlithe's tastes. He considered that in the future, if Growlithe could handle intermediate or advanced grades, he might revisit this decision. As Floyd began blending, Growlithe observed a mix of hesitation and expectation in his eyes. He knew Floyd was preparing food for him. After a few moments, Floyd produced dozens of poke blocks and started another batch. Here, taste this one, Floyd said, offering Growlithe a sample as he continued to work. Growlithe's eyes sparkled as he tasted it. Delicious. Did you like it? Floyd inquired. Yes. How about training with me here? I'll provide this food daily. I can guide you through your training. What do you think? Floyd tempted Growlithe with his most persuasive offer. After a moment of consideration, Growlithe nodded. Floyd couldn't help but smile, realizing that only a few Pokémon could resist such a treat. For now, just eat and indulge in light training. Run back and forth, similar to how Munchlax and Gumi train, okay? Floyd noticed that Growlithe's current condition was akin to Munchlax's and Gumi's. Like the leader Gumi, this Growlithe possessed 2 intermediate proficiency moves, possibly due to being forced into battles by his previous master. However, his repertoire of fire moves was limited, featuring only the Ember move. Floyd surmised that this might be due to a lack of nutrition. Floyd's decision to use only fire and normal type berries, excluding rock type, was strategic. He intended to eliminate the rock type trait from the Hisuian Growlithe, contrary to his plan to retain the Hisuian form of Gumi when it evolved into Sliggoo. The combination of fire and rock types presented numerous vulnerabilities, especially significant weaknesses to water and ground, as well as a doubled weakness to fighting. A pure fire type was a more favorable choice. Growlithe agreed, and Floyd gave him more poke blocks. After eating, Growlithe began running with the Gumis. Watching them, Floyd mused about the future, where he envisioned many trainers challenging him in the world of Pokémon. Trainer 1, ho ho ho, are you a dragon trainer, Floyd? Come on and battle with me. I have a counter for your Pokémon with my steel type. I can resist your dragon. Come out, Scizor. Floyd, oh, you have a Scizor? Then come out, Arcanine. Trainer 1, what? Why do you have this? Are you really a dragon trainer? Floyd, my Arcanine can learn Outrage. You dumbass. Trainer 2, I have an ice Pokémon. I can counter your dragon. Come out, Weevil. Floyd, oh, Weevil? Then, come out, Arcanine. Trainer 2, what? Aren't you a dragon trainer? Floyd, my Arcanine can learn Outrage. You dumbass. Trainer 3, ha ha ha, I have a fairy-type Pokémon, Sylveon. Just give up, your dragon has no effect on me. Floyd, really? But I can resist your fairy type. Come out, Arcanine. Trainer 3, what? You are a fake dragon trainer. Floyd, my Arcanine can learn Outrage, dumbass. Trainer 3, that's still not a dragon. Floyd, there's even a guy who has an all-flying type team and proclaims himself as a dragon trainer. And you're calling me fake? I'm the real dragon trainer, you dumbass. Lance sneezes. Someone's talking about me. Steel resist dragon. Fairy immune to dragon. Fairy, dragon, and ice suppress dragon. While fire resists fairy and suppresses steel and ice. Ha 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 ha, Floyd chuckled, amusing himself with the thought. Axew, Dratini, and Horsa exchanged puzzled looks. Horsa. Has Master gone mad? Axew, no, he's just having a wicked thought. Dratini, I hope he doesn't neglect my training. Horsa. Or reduce my food. Axew, it's not about us. If it were, he'd be looking at us now. Horsa, he's watching that dog, isn't he? Axew, let's hope for the best. Several hours later, Floyd handed over the poke blocks he had made to Chen Yu. For the time being, they were designated to distribute the food to each Pokémon based on their individual contributions. This arrangement would save Floyd time, allowing him to concentrate more on training with Pokémon. Dratini was visibly upset since he couldn't train today, while Horsa appeared to be enjoying a carefree day. After the training session, Floyd took all his Pokémon to Chansey for a checkup. At the clinic, both Floyd and Growlithe received a stern reprimand from her. Feeling somewhat defenseless, Floyd left the clinic a few minutes later. Floyd then rejoined the ongoing meeting. Following the usual proceedings, Chinayu and Kang Jihun presented their reports, succeeded by Yvonne and then Bianca. Although Bianca's demeanor remained unchanged, the attendees now had a better understanding of her situation and were less critical. Bianca's current project involved creating clothing designed to delay the effects of poison. She even made an attempt to poison herself as a demonstration, but Kenrico was on high alert and intervened in time. He announced that he would personally test the clothing and provide feedback later. When Floyd's turn to present came around, Kenrico first showcased 5 samples of the prototype berry blender, distributing them among the representatives. He went on to commend Ryota for his remarkable achievement in crafting the device. The assembly was taken aback upon learning that the mastermind behind the invention was just a 10-year-old. Floyd then understood why Kenrico had previously referred to the young boy as a genius. He was indeed right. Floyd proceeded to demonstrate the blender's use. He anticipated a few mishaps since he himself had faced numerous failures with it. He chose to showcase a simple blend involving the kuo and nut pea berries. Once the representatives mastered this basic blend, they would be in a position to assist Floyd in his Pokémon feeding duties. Chapter 71, Father and Son Meet. Seeing their failed results, Floyd encouraged them to practice more. Once they could shape it into a cube, even if it wasn't a poke block but rather a flawed product, it would already represent a significant improvement. Floyd suggested that once they reached that level, they should remember the rhythm of the process. 5 individuals volunteered for this task: Nakamura, Suzuki Akiko, Chen Xin, Choi Yurin, and Huang Mai Thuong. They were the first group to undertake it. After Floyd finished discussing his topic, it was Kenrico's turn. He presented the possibilities of single and dual type attribute Pokémon and introduced a theory of potential triple attributes, though this was still unconfirmed. He also provided examples of Pokémon with confirmed attributes and others stemming from dual attribute Pokémon, but with one of their attributes still unconfirmed. Kenrico then highlighted new type discoveries like the bug and normal types. For now, unidentified creatures would be temporarily categorized as normal type. He applied Floyd's theory about the opposing counter types for each type, though, currently, only a few were recognized: plant, fire, and water. More than 3 hours passed, and the discussion concluded. Floyd returned to his room and settled into his usual routine. After 30 minutes, he visited Kenrico's laboratory to delve further into their research. Their current task involved observing Pokémon movements from videos, with Floyd identifying any moves he recognized, except for those related to the dragon type. He was keen on keeping the existence of the dragon type a secret. Moves like Dragon Claw were simply referred to as Claw, and Dragon Dance was just Dance. After compiling moves for each type, Floyd returned to his dormitory. Time progressed, and 7 days flew by. Previously, amidst the vast expanse of the azure ocean, a serpentine figure undulated powerfully, leaving behind ripples that shimmered in reverence. Gyarados, with its sinuous, coiling body of brilliant blue, schemed the water's surface. The sight of Gyarados gliding effortlessly, with both power and grace, evoked memories of ancient legends where sea monsters ruled the depths and were both feared and revered. In the tranquil expanse of the deep blue ocean, a stirring ripple began to surface. A young Gyarados, with its bright azure scales glinting in the dappled sunlight, approached the vast, imposing shadow of its counterpart. "Roar, Father, I'm back!" The young Gyarados nervously gazed at this massive creature of its own race. The youngling's body, though robust and formidable in its own right, was dwarfed by the sheer size and majesty of the elder Gyarados. "Roar, who told you to come back?" The young Gyarados' entire body shivered as the thunderous roar enveloped him, sending a chill down his spine. "Roar, where's your sister?" "Roar. Father, I met her." "Roar, then, where is she?" "Roar, Father, she doesn't want to come back." "Roar, what did you say? Are you joking?" The elder Gyarados splashed the sea with his tail, launching it towards the young Gyarados. The younger one grew anxious and quickly evaded the attack. Roar, father, I'm not joking. I truly met her, and she doesn't want to come back. She said our food is disgusting, so she refuses to return. Seeing the threatening posture of his father, the young Gyarados quickly ratted out his younger sister. Roar! What did you say? She truly said that. Roar! Yes, father, and she stayed with a weak human. She said that the human is her master and that he's very kind, she didn't want to return. Roar! Absurd! She dared to go with a weak human? Such a disgrace! You are telling the truth, right? Roar, father, why would I lie to you? I'm your son. Roar. Then why didn't you bring your sister back? Don't tell me you lost to that weak human. Roar, father, that weak human has a strong ally, a large turtle. I'm no match for him. That turtle was so arrogant, he called us weak serpents. Roar. What? Me, a serpent? I'm so angry. Tell me where they are. I'll destroy them and punish that rebellious girl of ours. Roar, father, follow me. You must teach them a lesson. They shamed me in front of others. As the young Gyarados moved forward, his father followed. But then the elder's attention was caught by a scent, leading him to a bag atop the young one's head. Roar. Son, what's that on your head? Roar, father, that weak human gave it to me for you. Roar. You accepted it? From a human? Such a disgrace! Hearing his father's furious roar, the young Gyarados quickly defended himself. Roar, father, they threatened that if I didn't deliver it to you, they wouldn't return my sister. I had no choice. Roar, damn it! I'm so angry. Give it to me. The young Gyarados handed it over. His father grabbed it with his tail and bit the bag open. A tempting aroma of poke block wafted to his nostrils. Roar! What is this? Roar, father, that's the food that human made. It's the reason my sister won't return. We should capture that human, his cooking is divine. However, upon this confession, the young Gyarados saw his father glaring intensely at him. Roar, did you taste it? Roar, father, I'm so poor, they forced me to eat it, you must avenge me. Kill them, we must kill them, father, this food was absurd. Seeing his father's curious expression, the young Gyarados watched as the elder took a bite and then roar. Delicious! A resounding roar echoed across the sea, causing countless sea creatures to flee in terror. Roar! So good! The young Gyarados was stunned as he watched his father devour the food. Once finished, the elder Gyarados looked slightly embarrassed. Roar! Cough, cough, this food almost fooled. Who made this? We need to kill him. No, killing isn't enough. We need to capture him, he must serve us forever. Without wasting another second, the young Gyarados quickly heeded his father's orders. September 10, 2005. 3 p.m. Floyd and his Pokémon were in Kimona Hatch Forest when they accidentally encountered an Arbok. Currently, Axew is confronting a level 30 Arbok. Don't ask how he knows the level, Arbok is part of the Dragon Egg group. Arbok used Glare on Axew. Axew, stop it! Use Taunt! Floyd shouted. Seeing Axew's taunt, Arbok grew angry, cancelled its Glare move, and used Crunch. Axew, counter with Dragon Claw. Axew and Arbok then collided. Even though Axew was of a higher level than Arbok, the battle was evenly matched. Axew didn't gain an advantage over the fully evolved Arbok. After their collision, Arbok tried to use the Wrap move with its tail on Axew. Axew, deflect it with Breaking Swipe. Floyd instructed. Axew successfully deflected the move, causing Arbok to retreat slightly. Use Dig, Axew. Floyd commanded. Axew burrowed into the ground. Seeing its prey disappear, Arbok turned its attention to Floyd and the others. It rushed at them and used Crunch. Come out, Axew! With a forceful eruption, Axew emerged from the ground and struck Arbok in the face. The snake cried out in pain while Axew continued to spin. This was the dragon dance. Arbok released a barrage of poison sting attacks, but Axew deftly deflected them all. As Arbok charged again. Protect, Axew! Floyd urgently commanded. Axew and Arbok clashed once more, but Axew successfully defended himself. Both Pokémon retreated slightly before Arbok used Wrap again. Breaking Swipe! Floyd ordered. Now Axew had the advantage. He wounded Arbok with his move. Follow with Dragon Claw! Floyd directed. After feeling the brunt of the Dragon Claw, Arbok wailed in pain. Don't let up, Axew! Use Dragon Claw again! Floyd urged. Desperate and in agony, Arbok considered fleeing. Stop it with Breaking Swipe! Floyd instructed. Axew raced ahead and struck Arbok with Breaking Swipe, causing another scream of pain. One more time, Dragon Claw! Floyd declared. With a resonant sheeing, Arbok fell unconscious. The light enveloped Axew's body, shining brightly. In alarm, Floyd shouted, Axew, stop! Axew struggled, resisting the evolution. Soon after, the light faded. Floyd wiped away his sweat, feeling anxious. He didn't know how many times this had happened to Axew before. It seemed he couldn't afford to wait any longer, or he would risk losing more than he could gain. As he was about to approach Arbok, Floyd shouted, Dragon Claw! Coincidentally, Arbok, which had been unconscious earlier, also attacked Floyd. Axew struck Arbok's face as they collided. Bang! Hiss! Arbok screamed, and this time, he fainted. Floyd drew his knife and ended the snake's life. There was no room for sympathy. In the wild, creatures like Arbok were among the most ruthless, damaging the forest's ecosystem. This likely explained the scarcity of Pokémon in this area. Many might have fallen victim to this predatory snake. But what Floyd discovered next was even more troubling. He already expected who was inside. He sliced open the distended body of the Arbok, revealing a pale, unrecognizable human corpse, and some incomplete body of many Pokémon. Their body was drenched in a mixture of blood and venom, and it was evident that the snake had almost wholly drained their nutrients. Floyd's expression grew grim as he looked at the appearance of a human. It was Ren Minge. Chapter 72, The Sacrifice of Dreams, Fading Faith and Rising Resolve. Floyd and everyone already had a hunch about this result. It had been 2 hours since Ren Minge and his Starly disappeared. When Kenraku, Floyd, and some scouts searched for them, they couldn't find them. Everyone had a hunch that they had already fallen prey to or had been killed by wild beasts. But as Floyd searched, he found an unconscious and bruised Starly. It was the same one that had helped him fight the Pharaoh before, and it belonged to Ren Minge. This Starly was female, both of her wings were broken, she was full of injuries, and there was a lot of blood oozing from her body. She was still struggling to move, but she couldn't. If not for Floyd, Starly would surely have died. But even with Floyd's healing powder, it didn't do much. She needed to be rescued immediately by Chansey. He placed her inside his backpack and was about to move when he saw an Arbok swallowing something. Their eyes met, and the rest was history. Floyd covered Ren Minge's body and carried it on his shoulder. He took the poison sac from the dead Arbok, put it in his bag, and quickly pulled the tail and ran. Even though it was heavy, he still managed to carry it. It wasn't even comparable to his Munchlax. Everyone, let's go, Floyd shouted. His Pokémon nodded. Floyd took out his phone and started to call. A few moments later, Floyd, what's up? Le Mylin answered. I found Brother Ren, Floyd said. Really, Floyd-san, is he okay? Where are you now? We'll come. Floyd heard Kenriku's voice on the phone and knew he was with Le Mai Lin. Youngest, is he okay? We will come with you. Where are you? This time it was Hu Tianyi and Chen Yu speaking. Professor, Captain, everyone. Floyd paused, his face solemn, then continued, please be prepared for disappointment. The phone line went silent. Why youngest, what do you mean? Floyd heard the shaky voice of Hu Tianyi. He's no longer with us, Floyd said solemnly. Floyd heard a muted gasp on the phone. I see, did you bring his body? Hu Tianyi tried to steady his voice, but the quiver was evident. Yes, Floyd replied. Then, we'll wait for you here. Please be careful, Hu Tianyi said. Don't worry, I'm fine, Floyd reassured, then hung up. A few minutes later, near the safe zone of the Kimono Hatch forest, he heard a Pidgeotto cry in the air. Floyd knew it wasn't an enemy but an ally. As he continued walking, he saw many unconscious Pokémon, including some larger ones like Onyx, Arbok, Radon, and Ursaring. There were also Weepinbell, Gloom, Beedrill, Ikans, Pidgeotto, Kecleon, Nuzleaf, Cherim, Sunflora, and many younger Pokémon like Bellsprout, Cherubi, Seedot, Teddiursa, Sunkern, and Shroomish. All were unconscious. Floyd guessed that Blastoise's family was responsible, and other significant Pokémon like Butterfree, Graveler, Pidgeotto, and Breloom had been involved. These Pokémon, under Kenriku's command, were also injured, suggesting they had faced a formidable opponent. Soon, many people appeared, running towards him. Floyd saw Kenriku, Le Mai Lin, Yvonne, Hu Lai, and others rushing to him. When they saw the body wrapped in cloth on his shoulders, they recognized who it was. Then they noticed the Arbok Floyd was holding and deduced it was the culprit. Hu Tianyi, upon seeing the body, trembled and knelt, crying. Chen Yu gently patted his shoulder, clenching his fist and biting his lip until it bled, evidently angered. The atmosphere grew heavy. Seeing Chansey crying nearby, Floyd approached her with the injured Starly from his backpack. Chansey, please save her, he pleaded. Chansey was shocked at Starly's condition and immediately began healing her. Happiny also followed suit, using Heal Bell. Floyd assisted by offering healing powder to Chansey, who then applied it to Starly. Soon, Starly regained consciousness, though she was still weak. Panicking, she began to search for her owner. Hearing her distress, Hu Tianyi, still grieving for his lost comrades, looked at her resentfully. He lunged forward as if to kick her, but Floyd intervened, holding him back. Brother Hu, what are you doing? Floyd asked as he held him. Youngest, don't stop me. It's you. Why are you still alive? Why did you not protect your master? Hu Tianyi struggled to break free from Floyd's grip, pointing at Starly and shouting. Starly, shaken by Hu Tianyi's reaction, her eyes started to tear up as she looked at her master. She then found her master and rushed to him. Don't come near, you monster! Hu Lai shouted. Hu-san, don't blame this creature, it's my fault. Blame it on me. I should have tightened the security here. I'm truly sorry, Kenriku said, kneeling in apology. You know it's too late for you to apologize. You can't resurrect the dead. Hu Lai shouted. Blame me. It's my fault, Kenriku reiterated, knocking his forehead to the ground in regret. Professor, Suzuki rushed towards him. Kenriku's gesture did not appease Hu Lai. If anything, it infuriated him more. You recruited us here for your plan, to realize your dream. What's the sacrifice? Our lives? Is it? Tell me. Is it? Is it? Hey? Tell me. I'm sorry. Kenriku continued to kneel, filled with regret. He had underestimated the dangers of the wild. Perhaps Blastoise's protection had lulled him into complacency, making him forget that not everyone had a partner as strong. Is this how low your pride is? Just kneeling here so easily? You fucking japa! But Hu Tianyi was cut off when Floyd placed a hand over his mouth and pulled him down, speaking calmly, "Brother Hu, calm down. Don't let your anger consume you. Please, take a breath and calm down." Chen Yu, from a distance, just coldly stared at Starly, who was sobbing beside Ren Mingche, before walking towards Floyd. "Thank you, Floyd. Let me handle him now. We'll take our leave." "Chen Ji, you don't need to uphold," Hu Tianyi began, but Chen Yu interrupted as he took Hu Lai to the safe zone. "Just calm yourself for now, you're not calm. Come on, let's go." Moments later, seeing Starly still crying beside her master, Floyd patted her head, comforted her, "You did your best." Starly didn't seem to hear him and remained immersed in her grief. Floyd approached Kenraku. "Professor, let's return and take Brother Ren with us." "Floyd-san," Kenraku began, still kneeling. "Yes." Floyd responded, slightly confused. "I'm the worst," Kenraku admitted. "If I had made the plan seriously, and protected them here. If I didn't underestimate these beasts, Ren-san would still be alive. I deeply regret it." Tears streamed down Kenraku's face. Suzuki comforted him with a pat. "Professor, you are truly the worst," Le Mylin said solemnly, biting her lip, thinking one of his subordinates died. "I know," Kenraku nodded, not disputing her statement. "And I'm also worst." Le Mylin approached Ren Mingche and called out to her team, "I'll carry him. Help me, everyone. Let's go." As everyone began to move, Starly tried to follow, but Floyd picked her up. Seeing her struggling in distress, he handed her to Chansey, who carried her along with Happiny. "Professor, are you giving up?" Floyd asked Kenraku. "I don't know, but today, I feel like giving up," Kenraku confessed. "Are you really going to give up now when you're already here?" Floyd challenged. "Mistakes happen, and sacrifices are made in the pursuit of success. The key is to learn from them and ensure they're not repeated. I don't know who will be next, it could be me, you, or any of us next." Kenraku interrupted, "No, I won't let anyone else be sacrificed. If there has to be a next, it should be me." He stood up, dusting off his pants, and his demeanor shifted. "Floyd-san, thank you. I'm better now. I won't turn back. This is the path that I've chosen, it's hard to turn back." With that, Kenraku and Suzuki left. Chapter 73, Making Tablets. Seeing them leave, Floyd pulled on Arbok's tail and continued walking. He approached the graveler and asked them to help him dig. After a few moments, he placed the dead Arbok and buried it near the tree. Then he returned to the base. Upon reaching the base, he sensed a mournful atmosphere. This was the first time someone had died on the team. The Chinese group was the most affected because they had lost one of their comrades. He observed Hu Tianyi, who was silent. Although he had calmed down, the grief was evident on his face. The other group was quiet, clearly shaken by the events. Numerous caterpie used their silk to wrap around Ren Mingche's body. Floyd noticed Kenraku, who kept apologizing. Chen Yu then said, "Professor, you should rest first. The damage has been done, and we can't reverse it. We're all unsettled. Let's give ourselves some time." "I understand. If there's anything you need, please let me know," Kenraku replied, feeling helpless. Knowing he couldn't change the past, he left with Suzuki and his disciples and returned to the laboratory. The bond between the groups seemed fragile, but Floyd remained hopeful that the worst thing will not happen. He found a secluded spot near the safe zone, away from any surveillance cameras. He glanced at his Pokémon and then at Axu, saying, "Let's go, it's time for you to evolve." Upon hearing the word evolve, Axu's eyes sparkled. This was the moment he had been waiting for. He knew that if not for Floyd's caution earlier, he might have already evolved. But he trusted Floyd's judgment. Without an Everstone to suppress the evolution, Axew already done his job to suppress his desire, but this time, with Floyd's affirmation, Axew was eager for the change. Game panel, initiate 80% simulation for protein tablet, Floyd commanded, spending 6,000 points. He then retrieved a significant amount of berry powder from his backpack and placed it in the berry blender, starting to press various buttons. His method resembled poke block creation, but this time he used only berry powder. As minutes passed, beads of sweat formed on Floyd's forehead, a testament to his intense concentration. He couldn't afford any mistakes. As the blending neared completion, he took a deep breath, trying to maintain focus. When he finally heard the ding, a huge sigh of relief escaped him. Those minutes had felt like hours. After collecting the 8 tablets, he collected them to the bottle. However, he couldn't rest yet. Taking another deep breath, he prepared for the next step. Game panel, initiate 80% simulation for Carbo's tablet, he commanded, spending another 6,000 points. This left him with only 650 points. Floyd then took a different type of berry powder from his backpack, placed it in the berry blender, and repeated the previous process. Focus, 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 was all that ran through Floyd's mind as he continued blending, ensuring he pressed the right buttons. His gaze remained fixed on the blender, not even blinking as the process reached its climax. Finally, the familiar ding rang out. Success, ha ha ha! Floyd exclaimed, collapsing on the ground from exhaustion and elation. Axew, along with the other Pokémon, celebrated the achievement. Axew was especially ecstatic, knowing this was all for him. Floyd took the 7 pieces of Carbo's tablets and placed them in a bottle. He saw 2 cases of bottles, one with a tablet of protein and the other with a tablet of Carbo's. In reality, he couldn't have afforded these tablets if not for his own improvement. And yes, Floyd managed to improve his proficiency to intermediate. However, even with intermediate proficiency, it didn't mean he could afford them due to their price. If he were buying only the lowest grade tablet, he wouldn't have had to worry about spending points. With intermediate proficiency, he could make it. There might be some failures, but if he wanted to increase his chances of success, he could use the simulator. However, knowing the breeding method, Floyd was aware that giving these tablets could have side effects for first stage and middle stage Pokémon. For instance, if they consumed low-grade Carbo's tablets daily to increase speed, the Pokémon would become smaller. If they consumed low-grade iron or protein tablets daily to boost their attack or defense, they would grow taller or larger, sacrificing speed. If they took low-grade calcium or zinc tablets daily to amplify their special attack or special defense, their regular attack or defense would decrease. These tablets are better consumed when a Pokémon reaches its full evolution stage because the side effects are minimized. Thus, Floyd aimed to create a medium-grade tablet, which required advanced proficiency. He used a significant amount of berries, with berry powder being a key ingredient. Not all berries produce powder. For protein tablets, the most suitable were tomato and spelin because of their powder yield and complementary flavor. For Carbo's tablets, Magost and Watmal were the best choices. Creating these tablets cost him 7,500 points each, totaling 15,000. If he had high-grade berries like lychee, he could have crafted both types of tablets for only 7,500 points. Since he didn't possess such berries and points, Floyd gritted his teeth, reduced the simulation success percentage to 80%, and spent 12,000 points. This nearly depleted his entire week's earnings, leaving him with only 700 points. He couldn't delay any further. If Axew evolved without his intervention, he'd regret it. The idea of waiting to earn the needed 3,000 points wasn't an option. Failure in crafting even one tablet would be devastating. Thankfully, the worst didn't come to pass. Rising to his feet, he sighed in relief and dialed a number on his phone. After a few moments, a dejected voice answered, Floyd-san. He recognized Kanraku's somber tone, influenced by recent events. Professor, my Axew is about to evolve, Floyd informed him. What? What did you just say? It's evolving? Where are you? Kanraku's voice surged with excitement. Don't worry, I'm going Beast Sanctuary, Floyd replied, smiling. Okay, I'll wait for you here. I'm on my way, Kanraku's voice was hurried. Floyd even caught Suzuki's voice in the background, Professor, where are you off to? To Floyd-san, anyway, I'm going first, Kanraku commanded. This. Multiple voices of his disciples looked at him with doubt. With that, Floyd ended the call, turned to his Pokémon, and declared, let's head out. Chapter 74, Battle of Baby Dragons. Floyd placed 5 of each protein and carbose tablets into Axew's Poke Block. These Poke Blocks, a blend of intermediate and advanced types, were made 3 days ago when Floyd successfully improved his proficiency. They were meant to prepare Axew for evolution. The Poke Block bore a robust flavor from a combination of 4 berries, embodying 3 types, Dragon, Normal, and Dark. Upon arriving at the Beast Sanctuary, Floyd immediately spotted Kanraku, pacing anxiously. When the professor noticed him, he dashed over. Where is it now? Here, he's about to evolve, Floyd gestured towards Axew. Do we need to make any preparations? Inquired Kanraku. I've taken care of everything. We're all set, Floyd assured him. All right, let's begin, Kanraku said, readying his camera. Hold on, Professor. We should warn the other beasts. We might cause a commotion, and we wouldn't want them to get agitated and attack, Floyd advised. Kanraku nodded in agreement, I'll handle it. He then rushed off to notify nearby creatures. A short while later, he returned. Let's proceed, Floyd declared. He then checked Axew's stats. Pokémon, Axew, Shiny. Level, 37. Type, Dragon. Ability, Mold Breaker. Moves. Advanced level, None. Intermediate level, Dig, First Impression, Scratch, Dragon Claw, Slash, Taunt, Breaking Swipe, Bite. Beginner level, Crunch, Assurance, Dragon Dance, Protect, Dragon Rage, Scary Face. Genetic skill, First Impression. In a mere week, Axew had leveled up twice. His move, Breaking Swipe, had achieved intermediate status. All his dragon moves had improved substantially, with even Dragon Rage, which he used less frequently, showing marked enhancement. Horsa, Dratini, Gumis, I need your help, Floyd looked at them. All of them nodded and prepared in action while Growlithe and Munchlax were cheering for them. He looked at their stats. Pokémon, Horsa. Level, 19. Type, Water. Ability, Swift Swim. Moves. Intermediate level, Dragon Dance. Beginner level, Water Gun, Rain Dance, Smokescreen, Tackle, Wrap, Twister, Focus Energy, Dragon Breath. Pokémon, Growlithe, Hisuian disappearing 38%. Level, 19. Type, Fire and Rock. Ability, Rock Head. Moves. Intermediate, Bite, Tackle. Beginner, Ember, Howl, Head Smash, Outrage. Genetic skill, Head Smash. Pokémon, Gumi, Hisuian disappearing 60%. Level, 19. Type, Dragon. Ability, Gui. Moves. Intermediate level, Bubble, Water Gun. Beginner level, Tackle, Dragon Breath, Absorb, Counter. Genetic skill, Counter. Pokémon, Dratini. Level, 17. Type, Dragon. Ability, Shed Skin. Moves. Beginner level, Extreme Speed, Twister, Thunder Wave, Wrap, Dragon Breath, Dragon Dance. Genetic skill, Extreme Speed, Dragon Breath. Pokémon, Gumi, Hisuian disappearing 63%. Level, 14. Type, Dragon. Ability, Hydration. Moves. Intermediate level, Bubble. Beginner level, Water Gun, Dragon Breath, Tackle. Pokémon, Gumi, Hisuian disappearing 65%. Level, 13. Type, Dragon. Ability, Hydration. Moves. Intermediate level, Bubble. Beginner level, Water Gun, Tackle, Dragon Breath. Pokémon. Gumi, Hisuian disappearing 67%. Level, 12. Type, Dragon. Ability, Sap Sipper. Moves. Beginner level, Bubble, Water Gun, Tackle, Dragon Breath, Absorb. Pokémon, Gumi, Hisuian disappearing 70%. Level, 12. Type, Dragon. Ability, Hydration. Moves. Beginner level, Bubble, Water Gun, Life Dew, Tackle, Dragon Breath. Genetic skill, Life Dew. All Gumis have successfully learned Dragon Move, although Floyd just lessened the Dragon type on their intake, they still successfully managed to learn it. Munchlax also steadily grew, and his weight increased and became 90 plus kilos, although Floyd couldn't see his improvement, he knew he improved a lot. Horsa has caught up to the level of Growlithe and the leader Gumi, since Floyd didn't let these two guys train hard, just let them eat more and do mild training while Horsa was forced to train by Floyd, so she has caught up. She also managed 2 dragon moves, Twister and Dragon Breath, which she learned from Dratini. But the most terrifying of all was Dratini. He advanced 6 levels in just a week. How could that be? Floyd knew he was only 2 weeks old, merely half a month old. Moreover, he also learned the Dragon Dance move from Horsa. This astounding growth truly took Floyd aback. Yet he was aware that this pace might slow down a tad once they reached the pro stage, which began at level 20+. Even with that in mind, thinking about Dratini's growth left Floyd in awe. He remembered Axew's age, realizing that he was a year old. How long did it take for Axew to go from level 19 to level 37? Over 8 months. However, Floyd also recognized that when he met Axew, he wasn't even in the novice stages of breeding, which hindered Axew's growth. Floyd's own challenges in earning points and learning breeding also contributed. Axew's shaky foundation was another factor in the delay. Reflecting on this, Floyd sighed, realizing the sacrifices both he and Axew made for the benefit of Horsa and the others. They had poured in immense effort. Yet, despite the delay, Axew, being a dragon type, known for their slow growth, had reached level 37 within just over a year. From Floyd's recollections, the final evolution of starter Pokémon occurred around level 36. While this might not align perfectly with real-world logic, it gave Floyd a reference point. He remembered how long it took Kenriku to evolve his partner. It had taken Kenriku 2 years to get Blastoise, whereas Floyd achieved it in 1. Considering all the hardships and hard work, Floyd felt it was all worth it. He gazed at each of his Pokémon and asked, "Are you ready?" Horsa, Dratini, the 5 Gumis, and Axew all nodded in response. Axew, Horsa, Dratini, use Dragon Dance. Floyd ordered. What? Dragon! Kenriku exclaimed, hearing Floyd's command. The 3 Pokémon began their rotations. Horsa finished her spin first, followed by Axew, and then Dratini. Do it! Attack Axew one by one, Floyd instructed. All of his Pokémon nodded in agreement, except for Growlithe and Munchlax who were merely observing. Axew, protect! Floyd shouted. Axio parried Dratini's extreme speed, followed by Horse's tackle. Dratini prepared to use Twister. Axio, use breaking swipe, commanded Floyd. Axio struck both Horsa and Dratini. After the duo retreated, the 5 Gumis released their dragon breaths. Use dig, Floyd called out urgently. Axio quickly burrowed underground. Seeing this, Horsa wasn't sure how to react and stepped back. Floyd shook his head, noticing that unless given instructions, his Pokémon didn't act independently except for Axio. Axio, appear and use first impression on Dratini, Floyd directed, targeting Dratini due to his formidable extreme speed. Dratini, caught off guard, hastily deployed his extreme speed in defense. Their moves collided, pushing Dratini back, visibly hurt. Horsa, intimidated, emitted smoke as a smokescreen. The 5 Gumis were a tad late in their reactions. By the time they released their bubbles, Axio had vanished. Now, let's switch roles. Follow my commands closely, Floyd said. 2 Gumis on the left, 2 on the right, 1 Gumi up front. Horsa, stay behind, and Dratini, take the center. Everyone nodded, positioning themselves as directed. Dratini, defend with extreme speed if Axio attacks from any side. If he targets you, use extreme speed immediately. Understood. Floyd clarified. Ihu, Dratini acknowledged. As expected, Axio emerged targeting Dratini. Extreme speed, Floyd ordered. The two clashed. Immediately after, Floyd instructed, Horsa, use water gun. Obliging, Horsa sprayed both Axio and Dratini, pushing them apart. Gumis, unleash dragon breath, Floyd shouted. The 5 Gumis complied. Axio responded with protect but was pushed back by the overwhelming force. Dratini, Horsa, cast Twister. Floyd continued. Caught unprepared, Axio was hit and momentarily immobilized. Now, dragon breath, Floyd commanded. The Gumis launched another volley of dragon breath. Overwhelmed, Axio resorted to using protect again. A powerful impact sent Axio reeling. Enough, Floyd signaled, halting the battle. He turned to Axio, asserting, it's time. Chapter 75, Dance of the Dragon, Axio's Evolution. Axio panted heavily from the fight, his body beginning to shine. Axio, hold it back a bit. I already told you the plan, right? Floyd said as he rushed to him, handing over his prepared poke blocks. Eat this. Axio struggled not to evolve and began eating all of the food. He felt his appetite increase, and the food in his bowl, which he would normally take a few minutes to finish, was gone in just seconds. He stuffed all the food into his mouth and finished it, after which Floyd released his dragon energy. Axio closed his eyes and took in Floyd's dragon power. His body began to glow again, but he kept resisting the urge to evolve. Kanraku, operating the camera, opened his mouth in shock. He had made some guesses about Floyd's power, but seeing it in action was still a surprise. He checked his camera, stopped the recording, and deleted the video, thinking of his own safety. If others saw this, it could put Floyd in danger. Dragon energy was immensely potent. In mere seconds, with the help of 5 proteins and 5 carbo tablets, it absorbed everything Axio had eaten. Axio's eyes began to turn red, but he still maintained control. This intensity was the reason Floyd only occasionally used it, and even then, only in small amounts. It was beneficial when used in moderation to heal dragons, but harmful if overused, especially on base stage Pokémon. Only mid-stage or fully evolved dragons could handle such forceful energy. He had used it twice before when he and Axio were in danger, and Axio had almost lost control. The third time was near an accident when he channeled his power into Axio and Horsa, enabling them to use Dragon Dance. This dance had helped divert the violent energy. The fourth instance was when he unleashed his full power on Growlithe, who became extremely aggressive. The energy was then redirected to the outrage move, causing Growlithe to collapse. Now, he planned to transfer his dragon power to Axew to benefit him further. As Floyd did this, he started to sweat, feeling his energy deplete. Axew, on the other hand, continued to resist as he absorbed the energy, his glow intensifying. Now, Axew, use Dragon Dance! Floyd exclaimed, then withdrew his power and sat down, clearly tired. Axew executed Dragon Dance again for the second time. Axew, filled with undying spirit, propelled himself into the air, spinning with a fierce determination to confront the violent energy inside his body. The atmosphere became thick with anticipation, and a radiant glow enveloped him, casting shimmering flecks of light all around. This intense radiance signaled an approaching evolution. As Axew spun in the air, his body's brightness increased. "Here it comes," said Floyd, who was seated, watching the spectacle with great expectation. Kanraku, having turned on his camera when Axew leaped, recorded the scene. He was puzzled by this evolution, as it was his first time witnessing such a complex process. He had observed many evolutions before, but this was distinct. Floyd's Pokémon, too, watched intently. Dratini, envious of Axew's imminent evolution, began to fantasize about evolving into a mighty Dragonite, his eyes sparkling with hope. He must evolve into Dragonite. He must train even harder, Dratini resolved. Other Pokémon, hidden behind nearby trees, also observed the extraordinary event. This glow intensified, becoming almost too luminous to behold directly. Within this glowing cocoon, Axew's silhouette started to change. The first notable transformation was his tusks. Previously small and sharp, they now grew longer, curving more prominently from the sides of his mouth. His eyes, visible through the brilliance, became more fierce and determined. As Axew spun, amidst the radiant brilliance, his eyes sharpened, gleaming with a newfound resolve. The scales on his back, once soft, started to harden, forming a protective layer, reflecting the teal markings that dotted his body. These teal markings were a clear distinction, setting him apart from the usual Axew evolution. His legs, too, became more robust, signaling enhanced power and agility. His overall stature transformed. No longer was he the diminutive and vulnerable Axew. He had grown in size, exuding an aura of strength and maturity. The green of his body lightened, contrasting beautifully with the teal markings that adorned him. The spinning began to slow, and the radiant light started to fade. As the glow dissipated, Axew, now evolved, descended gracefully onto the ground. Now standing as a shiny fracture, he was a sight to behold. His teal tusks and markings gleamed, emphasizing his uniqueness. This evolution, marked by a dazzling display of light and color, was indeed a spectacular event. His presence was more commanding, and his demeanor more assured. The evolution was performed in a breathtaking aerial display for those people and Pokémon who had happened to witness it. Shiny fracture. Fracture. Fracture roared. Pokémon, fracture, shiny. Level, 39. Type, Dragon. Ability, Mold Breaker. Moves. Intermediate level, Dig, First Impression, Dragon Claw, Scratch, Slash, Breaking Swipe, Taunt, Bite. Beginner level, Dragon Dance, Crunch, Assurance, Dragon Rage, Protect, Dual Chop, Dragon Tail, Scary Face, Dragon Pulse, Sword Dance, Outrage. Genetic skill, First Impression. Damn! So many dragon moves! Like Dual Chop and Dragon Tail, which even managed to get ahead of Scary Face in mastery. There's also Dragon Pulse, and lastly, Outrage. Although he can't control it yet, it's a sign that he's begun to learn it. With proper training, he can master it. Not only that, Axew also managed to learn Sword Dance. Where did he get that inspiration? It might have been from Dragon Dance. Axew's mastery also started to improve, like Dragon Claw, which moved one step away from Slash, Breaking Swipe which surpassed Taunt, and Dragon Dance which surpassed Crunch and Assurance. Axew also leveled up to 39, and Floyd felt that Axew was almost one step nearer to level 40, the level of an ace. Axew, or maybe we should now call him Fracture, has improved a lot in both moves and appearance. His height is 1.20 meters, more than 20 centimeters taller than the average Fracture. Not too tall, but also not too short. Floyd can see Fracture's tight muscles in his arms and legs. This is perfect. This is the combination of medium-grade protein and carbos which have opposing effects. One makes a Pokémon stronger and bigger but slower, while the other makes it smaller but faster. As they oppose each other, the results are balanced. Compared to the low-grade tablets that require long-term intake for significant improvements, while they might surpass Floyd's Axew in terms of height or speed, there's clearly a drawback that sacrifices one aspect. Fracture approached Floyd, and Floyd patted his head. You've become bigger. Now, you're not called Axew, but Fracture. Congratulations, Fracture. Fracture caressed his owner's hand, reminiscing about the 8 months they traveled together. If he hadn't met Floyd, he might have been caught by humans. If not for Floyd, he wouldn't be as strong as he is now. Filled with gratitude, he resolved to protect his master to the end. If we fought again, I'm not sure if I could beat you now, ha ha ha, Floyd laughed. Congratulations, Floyd-san, your beast has evolved. Honestly, I'm amazed. This might be the best evolution I've ever seen, Kenriku remarked. No, Professor, you're joking, right? Floyd replied with humility, shaking his head. No, I'm serious. This is the most unique evolution I've ever witnessed. Not even my Blastoise can compare. By the way, Floyd-san, I've deleted the previous video. This is the current one. Kenriku tossed the camera to him. Floyd caught it and played the footage. He only saw Axew's evolution, the power he showed earlier wasn't in this video. Floyd-san, I know you have that power, similar to mine but also different. No wonder I felt a familiar vibe from you. We are alike. But don't worry, I won't tell anyone, Kenriku assured. Upon hearing this, Floyd returned the camera. Thanks, Professor. Just be careful not to reveal it to others. It might endanger you, Kenriku advised. But I showed it to you. What should I do? Should I eliminate you? Floyd teased. He, as if you don't know about my power, Kenriku chuckled in reply. They both shared a hearty laugh. By the way, Floyd-san, what did you mean earlier by dragon?
Thanks for listening.